Okay, looks like we're live. Are we live? We're live. Let me double check over here. Make sure we're live and then double check on the, it's not showing me live. It's supposed to, but it's not. Let me see if I can find us live here to make sure that we are live. If we are live, you guys should say hello in the chat. But it's not coming up on my Who's Live feed. Let me see here. Let's find out. Yeah, it's still not showing I'm live. It's weird. My wife said that it did that to her too. Weirdly, had to look us up to find out if we were in fact live. And now it's saying that we are live. That's weird that it's done that. Did that to wife as well, Brooke as well. Okay, so it shows that we're live. Did that to Brooke as well. Not quite sure what's going on with that, but we are live. Okay. So welcome, 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 welcome. Right? Took me a minute to figure that out. Not sure why I was doing that. I said I did that to her the other day, yesterday. Weirdly, and the day before, but when I did it, I didn't have that problem. Oh, and my studio is off kilter here too. Weirdly, right? Oh, I didn't even check the sound. I better turn the sound off. It's probably, I didn't hear it. Let me see again. I didn't hear it echoing, but it could have been. Testing, 1, 2. Nope, no echo. Weird that it was, I still had it on and I didn't hear the echo. So I apologize if you guys were hearing an echo while I was doing that, right? I think my camera's up a little high there too. Let's fix that. Okay, so we are live, right? Welcome in, welcome in, welcome in. Smash those hearts, champions. Let's see if we can get some more people in here, right? Ask me your spiritual questions. I'm here to talk about things. Gonna set the record straight on some stuff, right? So, Jenny, welcome. Gonna set the record straight on a few things because it's been bugging the crud out of me because people keep saying these things and they shouldn't be because they don't know what they're talking about, right? Talking about like the Anunnaki. You have an entire group of people working for Disney, History Channel, which is owned by Disney. There's my wife. Brooke just popped in. Welcome, baby. Welcome, welcome. She probably checked in because I went live. She got a notification, but I saw her name there pop up. So, welcome, baby. I love you. Okay, so hopefully you guys can hear me okay. I got the fan going over here. Let me know if you guys can hear the fan. I didn't even wait, so let me know if you guys can hear that. Right, so smash those hearts, champions, so we can get some more people in here, right? Got to get those hearts up. Got to get those hearts up, right? Okay, so wanted to talk about a bunch of things. One being the Anunnaki, right? Paulie, welcome. Nita, is it Nita? Welcome. Buddha, welcome, right? Welcome in. Some of you guys are like returning champions who've come back, right? How you guys doing today? Right? Buddha Kent, welcome, 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 welcome back. Okay, so I wanted to talk about the word Anunnaki because everybody in that History Channel's Ancient Aliens pantheon, they keep calling the Anunnaki gods, and they keep calling the Anunnaki, aliens from another planet coming down here, and that they created the humans, right? And I'm not the only one in the world who talks about this. The actual scholars do, and check it out. I'm going to read you guys, and I'll do this later on as the day goes on too. As we're talking, let me read to you guys what it says online. If you look it up on like Wikipedia, for one. Okay, so based on the scholarly translations of the Sumer and Akkadian cuneiform texts, the real or literal translation of Anunnaki, and this isn't me writing this down. This, you can get this online. I googled this. Okay, of the word Anunnaki, and Anunnaki often written as Anuna, not Anunnaki, or Anunnaku, also not Anunnaki. Just so you know, is, and here's the actual translation of that: princely offspring. Thank you very much, my wife. Thank you, Brooke, for that. Princely offspring or royal offspring or seed of prince, not God, not alien coming from another planet, and definitely not an entire species. Okay, that was made up. Zachariah Sitchin in 1948, 1947, trying to translate that stuff, had no idea what he was doing. And he translated the word Anuna because he saw the word Anu and thought that it was Akkadian god Anu. But it's actually just A-N, the Akkadian god, not even Anu, right? So the Anu and the key part come from the god An or Anu or Anuna, depending on which pantheon. And the word ki that actually is another god. Okay, but it actually translates in that sentence Anuna ki as the prince came. Told you guys this 100 million times. Okay, the prince came, or the offspring of the prince. So not even the prince itself or his self, but a lower, the prince's kid who might be prince one day if the prince becomes king. Not aliens. Okay, not aliens at all. Zechariah Sitchin made that up and said Anunnaki meant the god Anu came down from heaven. Okay, and it doesn't mean that at all. The actual scholars who translated that, and I think it goes on to even talk about that, who the actual one of the people is, or a couple of the people that actually translated it. You guys can look that up. Okay. It says the term refers to a group or of supreme deities, talking about the offspring or the from where, from Sumer, Akkadian, Assyrian, and Babylonian, rather than extraterrestrials. Okay, so the term in that script refers to a prince coming to that place, not alien offspring. Okay, not gods either. Okay, so you guys have to realize that. And then let's see, what else does it say here? I think it has the names of the people. Okay, breakdown of the translation: Anuna or Anunnaki. The name is derived from the Sumerian word prince or royalty. Okay, Nun or Nuna, and seed or offspring. Right, that's the Anun. Okay. Okay, so those of princely seed, not godly, not spaceship, not third dimensional beings from another place. Okay, all of the things that they show you that are the Anunnaki, and I don't have the picture, or I would show it to you on the screen. Maybe I can pull it up on my phone and show it to you. The one where the guys are standing there with the wings on their back, and he's holding the pine cone, and they're facing each other. Let me see if I can pull that up on my screen, and we'll show that to you. Okay. Thank you, Brooke. Brooke is saying, share this out, right? You can see that. That's my wife in the thing. You should follow her right there. Follow that one, right? Let me see if I can pull up an image of the Anunnaki. Here we go. Here's some images. The ones that they tell you all the time are the Anunnaki. They show you this relief. I don't know if you guys can see this on your screen. Yeah, you can. You see that? Okay. They show you guys that right there, and they tell you that that means they're from outer space because there's some space-faring people. Okay, and that has nothing to do with that whatsoever. Okay, these images that you see right here that have faces that are something else other than human are actually anagrams and allegories dealing with the gods of wisdom and as below and so above. Okay, so the thing that they're showing you right here is not, and they keep telling you this is the sky god right up here in the middle, right there. They're telling you that's Viracocha, and Viracocha also doesn't mean an alien. None of those gods meant aliens. They were all talking about the stuff that I talk about all the time, and the stuff I talked about in my book. They were all talking about the Christ oil within, and you going within yourself and actually figuring things out. And they said the god of the underworld. Every time they said, like, they even called, okay, the chakras, they called them the gods that rule the archetypes. Okay, you have to remember that thousands and thousands of years ago, there was a god who made this knuckle, and a god who made that knuckle, and a god who made that knuckle, and a god who made the left ear, and a god who made the right ear, and a god who made the right eye, and a god who made the left eye. Okay, everything had a god. There was a god of everything. There was a god of the tree, and a god of the river, and a god of the eye nose, and a god of the left nostril, and a god of the right nostril. Okay, everything was a god. Anything that was part of creation, they said it was the god of this, the god of that, the god of this, the god of that. Okay, so if you believe that that was the god of whatever, then you would also have to believe that the water has a god, and the sky has a god, and the land has a god, and my right shoulder has one god, and my left shoulder has a different god, and my elbow has a different god, and so does my left one. So right shoulder, left shoulder, every single joint is a different god. Every limb is a different god. There's a god of the foot, god of the toes, each individual toes, by the way, and God, ankle, shin, thigh, everything that you can imagine that is an individual bone that goes to a human had a god that created it. Okay, so you have to understand that. You're putting things in terms of today when most people think there is only one God that created the universe. And then you're turning around and saying all these different gods. And then these people on the History Channel, thank you, Phyllis, for those roses. Thank you for those. There's like 150 of them there. Thank you very much. They're saying, well, if they were talking about the gods, it must be aliens who came down here. That's where they're making the jump. So they're telling you because that word Anu that he saw, which is actually just An, by the way, not even Anuna. Anuna was not a god. Okay. So the word Anu that he thought was an Akkadian god was also wrong. I just read the names to you of the Akkadian gods. So he said that, and he said ki must means comes. It doesn't. Okay, ki means offspring, not comes to earth. Okay, so Anuna was a royal blood, came not to earth, didn't come down from the sky. There was nothing there that said that they came down from the sky. Zachariah Sitchin lied about that, wrote books about it, and got rich off of it. Okay, then he passed away, and Giorgio Tsoukalos, who was working on the ancient aliens theory, needed proof to say that there was proof that the sky gods came to earth. So he used Zachariah Sitchin's translation, even though it had already been translated by actual scholars, lied about it on History Channel, and said the god Anu came down. Okay, because Zachariah Sitchin said it. That was in 2012. Then in 2015, he said those from the heavens came. So now he made it an entire species of people called the Anunnaki, and their name is those from the heavens came. So everybody is referring to the Anunnaki now as gods, and they were never translated that. The actual scholars, if you Google that, what is the actual translation and what does it mean? And it's not going to tell you Anunnaki space gods. Not going to do that. Okay. So, but you guys don't look it up and you just start regurgitating what people are saying. Okay. And you just start repeating it like a parrot and you just go, God, oh, Anunnaki gods. There is nowhere in the world that word meant gods who came here or people from outer space. None whatsoever. Okay. There is nowhere that they said they came here to mine gold. Now people are adding water. They had to mine gold and water when they came here, right? I'm Ina. What is that? Inanna. You're Inanna. So that's also spelled wrong. There's not two N's in that. So you should look up your pantheon before you take on the guise of a deity, right? you should look that up. So you're a god. Are you? You're a goddess of a underworld. So okay. So goddess Anuna. If you are the Anana, right? If you are the Anana, tell me that what your aspects are of that god, and what it is that you did in that pantheon without looking it up. I'll bet you have to look it up to find that out. Are unicorns and dragons, etc., real? Unicorns were a myth. It was just goats. There's a certain goat around the world that doesn't have crooked horns, and there's two of them. And if you look at them from the side, it looks like it has one horn in the middle of its head. So that one I'm not sure of, but I know that like dragons, they do exist. They don't exist in this reality. They used to exist, and it's very possible the unicorns do as well, but they don't exist in this reality, and you won't see them in 3D. You might start seeing them in 4D, but you won't see them in 3D, right? Descended into the underworld. See, the underworld was a. Sorry, there's a train going by out there. The underworld meant within, just so you know, there is no actual place that you go to that is underworld, that is underground, or anything like that. The underworld is within. Okay, and that's what it meant in all religions in the long distant past. The underworld, the god of the underworld, was within, and that underworld represented different aspects of the universe itself. Okay, the underworld was the feminine aspects of yourself, the Akunda buffer energy, and then you had the air. So you had the literal physical, and then you had the astral, and in the duality. Okay, so they had different names for different people that were ruling those aspects because they needed to give people names for ego and conscience. Okay, so the underworld was within, and that was like you going within yourself to do your dark night of the soul, looking within to look without. So they called it the underworld. Okay, and the way to the underworld was through meditation, so that you could go to the underworld. It's just that people didn't understand that, and they assumed that the underworld meant a devil because the churches, specifically the Roman Catholic Church, borrowed these ideas and tried to make everybody believe that if you don't do what I tell you to do, you're going to go to this place that's called hell, because they talked about it in the ancient times and it was called the underworld. So it was evil people went there and there was fire and brimstone. It was a lie. Okay. So you have to look at that stuff and realize that what's going on. One of them is Isis, Mary, Aphrodite. So you're thinking that Isis, Mary, and Aphrodite were the same person. They were not. They did represent the sacred feminine, but they were individual people. Mary was an actual person that walked on the earth. You're talking about Mary Magdalene. She's the only one of those three people that was an actual human person that walked on the earth, but they did represent the sacred feminine. So you're correct in your ideology, but they were not the same person at all. That's like saying that Mary and Sophia were the same person. They represented the same aspect in different religions, just like Marduk is the same as Jesus, and Moses and Thor. They're all the same actual character that did the exact same things in different religions. And that's what people don't understand. Okay. So I actually know Mary. You're not actually Mary. You might want to pick up her energy, but I actually know the person who was Mary. I'm married to her, just so you know. So you can think that, but you're picking up those aspects of her, but you're not actually a fractal of that soul that was in the body. A lot of people love to be that way, and everybody is, yeah, I'm Mary. Mary is back. Mary is back, but it's not you. I hate to tell you that. She was just here a minute ago. Okay, because I was there with her at the time. Okay, you guys you have to figure that stuff out. It's okay that you want to be these deity figures, but you guys should at first try to figure yourselves out and get out of 3D before you start saying that you're these people that came from a higher plane of existence that you think that you're an aspect of. We're all an aspect at a higher plane, if really truly, because we are all God, because none of this is actually happening. But the soul that was actually in the body of Mary is not you. No offense. No offense. I know that you want to be that, and it's okay that you want to strive to that, right? Heather, welcome. Welcome in. Smash those hearts, please. Let's get some more people in here so we can talk about that, all this stuff. So the Anunnaki doesn't exist, and people are making money off of it. Disney's making a lot of money off of it, and other people are touring around and telling you that the Anunnaki are aliens who created the human race, and they just didn't do that. Do you talk about the shape of the earth? Yes, the shape of the earth is not flat. Thank you very much for that, Heather. Shape of the earth is not flat. That also comes from ancient scrolls and their construction or the world construction theories. Okay, before there was the "Let there be light" stories in the world, you had stories of these giants who were here. This is the Vikings had this story. The Japanese have this story. All the people over in that area of China and Mongolia and all of that in that region, and including, let's see, who else? Including Mesopotamia. So now we're looking at Iran. So we're all of the Middle East. They tell the story of how the world was created. The world was created because something was there, and they named that, usually called it a god or a goddess, was creating the heavens and the earth, created the water out of the primordial ooze, or the different name for that. Sometimes they call it the ether. The Egyptians and especially the Greeks called it the ether. Okay. And with the Japanese story, they put dirt on the water because they believed that the islands of Japan were floating on the water. They weren't islands that were attached to the earth. Put dirt on that, and they needed a giant to help them. And the giant climbed up and went to sleep. And the giant was in the way to create everything, so someone had to unalive the giant. So they unalived the giant, and the giant wasn't really unalived, it was just sleeping. And they took the giant's head, and they used the giant's head to make the dome of the sky. The skull is the dome of the sky, and the teeth are all the mountains, and the bones and the jaw is all the land, and the blood is all of the water. Okay, so that same story goes with the Vikings and the frost giants, where they create this giant. I forgot what his name was. It was a weird name like Luigi or something, but it wasn't that. And they did the same thing, created the dome of the sky with the skull of the god. Same thing with Marduk. When Marduk defeated Tiamat, the dragon, they took her. She was also unalived, but not unalived and sleeping. And they took her head and they created the dome of the sky. All of that was being told thousands of years to people, because when they graduated to actually understanding what was going on, they would show that that was just a parable that was telling you that you were living inside the mind of a sleeping God. You're inside the mind of the creator. Okay. And that was what those stories were about. When the people were trying to control the narrative to keep people from expanding their consciousness so that they don't wake up, they took away that part of you're inside the mind of the creator. And then people started believing that the earth was flat. But back then they believed you could fall off the edge of the earth and go into oblivion. And that stayed from about 12,000 years ago until the 1700s. Okay. And in the 1700s, before that, they started believing that the earth was round, by the way. But the theory of the earth being flat was you're going to fall off the edge of the earth. Then in the 1700s, which is where the flat theory comes from, the flat theory of the flat earth comes from is one guy who sailed to go and find the edge of the world because he wanted to prove that the world was indeed flat. Thank you for that, Heather, and thank you for that, Phyllis. Some more of those roses. And in the 1700s, he sailed. And no one actually knows if he really sailed, but he claimed that he took a ship and he sailed to the edge of the world. And instead of falling over the edge, he found this big giant ice wall that he claims that he sailed for thousands of miles in one direction and thousands of miles in the other direction, and then came back to home, which is really odd because in the 1700s, you could only have enough food on board most ships for about a month, and if you were lucky, a month and a half, including water. Okay, and it would take for people to go from New York to London, which is only about 2,000 miles away, it would take almost a month. Okay, and they would just barely make it there with food. Okay, it wasn't like today where you can travel 7,000 miles in 14 hours on an aircraft. So they sailed and supposedly sailed like 10 to 15,000 miles in one direction and back with never stopping to get food. And then he came back to the world and said the world is flat and it's surrounded by this big giant ice wall. And there's this thing called the firmament, which means either sky or wall, by the way, or water. And it makes you turn so that you don't know and you can never see it. And he made all kinds of money selling that story, and nobody ever corroborated it. And that's what the flat earth story today is based on. One person who, from the dawn of time, changed the theory from you can fall off the edge of the world and it was flat to wait, there's an ice wall there. And then people look at these maps that were designed to go over the top of a globe. And that way, when you went over the top of the globe, the bottom part of it went tucked together and made one landmass on the globe. And when you see it flat, there's this landmass that goes all the way around in a circle. And people take that map and say that's a map of the actual world that he was talking about. And those maps were designed to be put over the top of a globe that you would have and tape it down or glue it down to a globe, and you would have a globe. But people today don't realize that because no one tells them that. And they look at that map and it's flat. And they go, there's a flat map that shows there's this big giant ice wall. That was actually what they called Antarctica. But it was actually proven that even on those maps with computers, that was actually just the tip of South America that was used to paint that, because no one had ever actually discovered that landmass yet. So there was no ice wall that went around the world. But uneducated people love to look at that and go, that's proof that the world is round and it's flat because of this map, when they have no idea that that map was created to go over a globe and tighten against the bottom so that the landmass becomes small at the southern tip of the world, not all the way around like this. Okay, and people want to deny that just like they deny that actual scholars read the cuneiform and have translated it, and you can buy those books or go online and read them, and the actual translation is not aliens coming down from outer space. It's actually the son of the prince or the daughter of the prince came over to the town they were living in and taught them agriculture, not coming from the sky, not a god. These are things that they count on you never looking up for yourself, just like the news media does. when depending on what country you're in, when they talk about different people from around the world, different presidents or kings, they give you little tidbits that are sound bites that they edited, and then they tell you something, and then you believe that, and you believe that, like, say on January 7th, Donald Trump told people to go and storm the castle, and he's actually sued every news agency over it and won since then. The BBC had to pay him like $100 million, and CNN is now broke because they had to pay him like $1 billion or something. And CNN's now trying to, the company who owns it's trying to sell it to who the highest bidder. You can look that up. So these people got away with it for a minute, and then he filed lawsuits, and it took him about 4 or 5 years to get the lawsuits settled. But they don't want to actually tell anybody, so they want a non-disclosure agreement. But you hear about it because he talks about it. He won't talk about how much money he got, but he's like, the British broadcasting system had to pay me $100 million or more. CNN, the same thing, and he's going after every news agency around the world because they were editing things and claiming he said something he didn't say, and they showed it to the world, and the world believes it because you guys believe whatever people tell you like that. You don't look it up for yourself. So that's the unfortunate thing, right? Could you imagine if we could all think for ourselves? Yeah, Heather, right? We would be we would be the greatest collective. Yes, we would. If we could all think for ourselves, it would be insanely cool, wouldn't it? Right? And so, right, I know, right? Yeah, let's get some hearts in here. Well, Phyllis, in my defense, I just got online like 20 minutes ago, right? Let's get some hearts going here, champions. Smash those hearts so we can get some more people in here, right? Right? Yeah. Is that Cahill or Kalil? Kalil Gabrin? I don't know how to say that. I apologize for saying your name wrong. Hello, welcome in. Smash those hearts, champions, and thanks, Phyllis, for all those roses. You give me like 4 million roses. Let's get some more people in here. Share this out, right? Get some more people in here so we can talk about different things and talk about actual reality. And I challenge everybody to look that stuff up. You saw I just pulled that off of the internet. I literally looked that up, and it was literally off of Wikipedia. And I went to Wikipedia about that and read it. You guys can Google that. Google the Anunnaki on Wikipedia, and even Wikipedia says they were not aliens at all. The word actually means prince or offspring of prince, or maybe in some regions of Mesopotamia or Arcadia or Babylon, it could have meant priest. None of them meant aliens from outer space. The Anunnaki doesn't exist the way that these people are telling you, and they're making all kinds of fucking money off of it. They're getting rich off of selling you the idea that these aliens came down here and created the human race, and they were called the Anunnaki, and they belong on the Mesopotamian god pantheon. Okay, and it wasn't that at all. The word Anu and Ki are two different gods in the Akkadian people, right? Both women, by the way, but that wasn't what they were talking about then, because the actual people who actually know how to translate that language, when they figured out and broke the code to the cuneiform for real, they know exactly what what those things say. The entire language now has been mapped, and they know what it says. And the word that you're thinking is Anunnaki was Anuna, and that actually means like son of the prince or daughter of the prince. Doesn't mean a god from outer space. And nowhere did it say they came down from the heavens or from outer space. That's just made up. The word Ki doesn't mean comes from heaven, okay, at all. Can I ask a question? Yes, you may. Might be sensitive. No, there is no sensitive. Well, it might be sensitive to the rest of the world, but go ahead. What's your question? I will answer whatever question you have. So, are you saying outer space isn't accessible? No, I didn't say that at all. Or isn't real? No, I didn't say that at all either. Are aliens real? Yeah, there are people on other planets. They're just if you took a picture of the sky that's that big, okay? There was a guy that did that. It's online. They took a picture with one of those big telescopes up there, and it was a picture of the sky that was 1 inch by 1 inch. In that 1 inch by 1 inch, there was more than 100 million galaxies like the Milky Way galaxy. Okay, just that little teeny 1 inch by 1 inch, more than 100 million. I think he said it was almost like a trillion. There was a lot of galaxies as big as the Milky Way. The possibility of other life existing in the Milky Way alone is so astronomical that when people hear it, they're saying that there is. not against. Saying that there is, people go, that just can't be. It is 100% fact that if we exist here, that means there's other life in the Milky Way galaxy alone. And 1 inch by 1 inch from this distance, from our Earth looking up, 1 inch of any part of the sky itself has over 100 million galaxies in it, as big or bigger than the one we're already in. Okay. So the odds are so astronomical that we couldn't even count how many, or even come up with a number that would say how many aliens there are existing in the universe. All right, let me go back up here and see what our buddy's question was. Okay. So space does exist. It is accessible. There is no dome up there that's going to stop you. That was all a metaphor so that you would realize at some point that you're in the mind of the creator, the mind of the sleeping God. Okay. So let's see. What are your thoughts on Sufism? It's technically still a Muslim practice. Those are choices. If you impose something on somebody against their will, it becomes an imprisonment. So anything that has to do with religion and the semantical ideologies of religion, no matter what people call them, right, are choices that people want to make. And if they want it, that's like saying whether I eat meat or whether I don't, whether I'm a vegan or whether I'm a vegetarian or a carnivore. Now, if somebody starts telling me that I have to do something in a certain way or I'm going to go to hell, that's just made up. Okay. So that's a choice. If you have to force someone to do it, then it's not a choice anymore. So anything in the world, like when they say, don't say the Lord's name and say something bad afterwards. Don't draw a picture of God, even if you don't know what God looks like. Don't say God's name. Those are things that humans made up, and they make them up to control people. Making people wear a certain thing is a control mechanism to keep people under your control. Okay. But if somebody chooses to volunteer to do that, then it's a way of life. Okay. So if somebody can leave anytime that they want to and they don't have to do it, then it's actually a choice. Then that's like a freedom, right? That's why in the United States you can have any religion that you want. Nobody's going to stop you from having a religion, whatever that religion is. The second you get violent, everyone's going to stop you from doing it. If you start doing things that harm people, we're going to call it a cult, and then we're going to arrest you. Although I'm not in the United States anymore, but I'm just saying inside the United States. And most countries are that way. So the countries that allow you to have a religion. So if a religion touts, war or anything like that, like the big religions do. The Christian religion today is a war machine, and it has been since Constantine, the emperor in Rome, made it the religion of Rome back in 325 AD. Okay. He turned it into a war machine. It's been a war machine ever since. The Muslim religion was created to be a war machine. The Hebrew religion was created to be a war machine. Those three religions are monotheistic, male-dominated gods, all created on the same ideology from Moses, and all of them are war machines that come out of the Roman and the Greek gods' pantheons, which were also war machines. Okay, so any religion that is a warlike religion, and that's all that it is, should not be listened to in that respect. But when there's people that are peaceful, that are a part of that religion, that don't subscribe to that war, you can't condemn those people because they're not warlike like the people who are trying to run it. That's why 90% of the Muslims who follow that are not warlike, but there's 10% that are zealots. The same with the Christians and the same with the Hebrews. You can't look at a religion and condemn every single people because of a small group of zealots who want to take over and conquer the planet. That's the way it is with politics too. If you look at politics, evil people do as evil people do, and they do it in everything, every aspect of your life. Okay. 86% of the population of this earth are in service to others. 14% are evil. Okay. And you have to realize that for those 14% of the people on this earth seek power and control. 100% of what they do is towards that, always. Okay. To do whatever they're going to do against you and other people. So you have to realize that if it's something that someone chooses to do, then there's nothing wrong with it. Whatever you choose to do, you have the freedom as a soul. You were born with the freedom to do whatever you want to do because the creator of the universe gave you complete freedom to do it. If you want to be a murderer and unalive people, I'm going to have a drink of my coffee, TikTok, not alcohol, coffee. Coffee, algorithm, coffee. I don't drink alcohol. Thank you very much. I've chosen to abstain from that. right? So, Jay, I have to say that. I have to say, I picked up my water bottle, which is over here, and it's got like Gatorade in it. Okay, I'm going to show you the tip of the water bottle. Okay, it's got Voost. I'm in Australia, so it's just like Gatorade, only it comes in like an Alka-Seltzer pill, and you drop it in the water, and then you have Gatorade, and it's kind of that highlight yellow color. Then I had a cup of coffee, two different times now. I picked up my coffee cup to take a drink, and it dinged me and said that I had was drinking alcohol, right? And there's no liquor in my coffee. And then another time, first time I picked up my water bottle and drank it, and my buddies were already telling me, you got to say that it's water, otherwise the algorithm's going to freak out. I picked it up and I took a drink out of it, and it said that I had alcohol, and so it said, don't drink anything this guy has on here because it'd be good, and they diminish you and punish you. And it was like, whoa, that's water. Too late, right? So now every time I take a drink of something, I have to tell everybody, I got to tell the algorithm that it's not, that, yeah, it's ridiculous, that it's not alcohol. Now I get that if you're, you know what I mean? I get that they're trying to say that if you drink alcohol, then it could be bad for you, but I'm already listed as adults only. Okay. I'm already listed as adults only. You can't get in here if you're under the age of 18. So what's the purpose for telling people that I might be drinking alcohol when I'm not, when there's people out there that do far worse crap than I do, right? But TikTok's that way. TikTok, you can show a see-through shirt with women and show their entire full frontal nudity see-through, but if you show a girl's butt and she looks like she's under the age of 18, you get banned. So culture, Chinese culture, can't show a woman's butt, but you can show her the front of her, completely nude, right? TikTok is bizarre. TikTok mutes or suspends me for no reason. Yeah, see, then sometimes that depends on if somebody flags you. Like I was sitting here talking about spirituality, like I'm doing now, about 3 days ago, and some troll came in and didn't like what I was saying and reported me for our firearms, saying that I had guns and ammunition that I was showing on the air, and it took me off the air for 10 minutes, and I'm already starting to work on getting information to TikTok and getting enough people to complain about it, because that empowers people and rewards them because nothing happens to them. There's no ramifications for it. So I'm getting people together to say to TikTok that people who report people because they're trolls, they do it like it's a game. They just do it because they can, and there's no ramifications. There needs to be ramifications. If somebody lies and claims somebody did something like showed firearms, and you go back and watch the video, because they do that, and there's no firearms in the video anywhere that they were talking about, just because maybe they said something about shooting someone or saying that word, right? Then there should be ramifications for that. Thank you, Nadine, for those roses. Thank you for those. There should be ramifications for that, for people reporting you when you didn't do anything and they lied about it, right? Because, I mean, if you go by Moses' standpoint, God gave Moses the 10 Commandments, and one of the ultimate sins by God was bearing false witness against people. So people think it's a joke and they're like, and they just turn you in for whatever, and you get taken down for 10 minutes while they review you, and then you can come back on, but there's no ramifications for it. They need to ban people who do that, right? 3 strikes and you're out. Watch how quickly everybody's going to have to recreate new freaking accounts every other day. TikTok has their numbers going up if that's the case, but they'll also have numbers going down for banning people. It's annoying. Okay. Yeah, you literally see people unaliving people, and I can't even say the word. Peter, welcome, brother. I can't even say that word that you typed in there because we're on a communist platform where they're controlling the words that you can say. That's how they start, by the way. They get you controlling the words and saying different words that mean different things, and that's part of the manifesto. You can actually look that up, too. It's part of the manifesto. Change the meaning of words, then change the words people can use, and then get people informing on the other people for using those words the wrong way. That's how you how you train people to start informing, and that way you have the masses, the ones they call the useless idiots, informing on the other ones to turn them in, so they turn in the 10% that are the troublemakers, and it helps you identify them, and you go round them up and put them in prison and torture them and unalive them. Try to get information from them and unalive them. And that way the other ones help you control the society and put themselves in chains, and then you just take total control. It's actually Marx wrote it in the Marxist dialectic, which he took from Hegel, who had the Hegelian dialectic, and he just changed the Hegelian dialectic to make Marxism, which became socialism and communism. Taking a drink of my coffee, TikTok, coffee, no alcohol. Okay. What's that? Yet TikTok allows creators that have games of attacking a target. Yeah, think about that. They'll allow you to play a video game where there's all kinds of carnage and blood and gore, but you can't say those words. Think about that. You know why? Because gaming makes them a lot of money. China makes most of the games, the ones that you guys play online. Okay, so they're going to let you advertise the games that the Chinese Communist Party controls, right? Bo, welcome, my friend. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So they're going to have their, they're not going to say you can't have like Fortnite on there. Who created Fortnite? The Chinese Communist government owns Fortnite. That's why all of you guys are out there yelling about people, humans being non-player characters. Oh, they're just NPCs, because they're getting you used to it for 20 years of playing Fortnite and games just like it, where you don't know if you're fighting an NPC or a human until you find out how they move, right? How do we stop the community zones being planned by governments? Tell them no. Refuse. Refuse. Don't do it. Do like they're doing over in Europe and fight back. You don't get to know that if you're in America because they don't want you to. Break the cameras they put up, right? Tell them, no, we're not moving into your cities. We're not doing it. If the people who want to move into there because they have no, because they choose to, they're going to put themselves into chains. The way things are today, with the way that they've programmed everybody in the world, it's going to be hard for people to resist. But people like me are waking you and everybody else up, and people are waking up. People are waking up in a crazy way that's exponential now. So they're losing their power. Soon they will have none. Okay. Right now they're in their death throes and they're fighting as hard as they can for status quo. Okay. So all you have to do is just educate yourself. And this is what we tell you. This is why I wrote this book, right? The reality about reality, returning to the old ways. The information is in here. It doesn't mean that we're going to go back to like slavery or anything stupid. By me, Leonard O'Neill, Neill. There's a link in the bio for it. Okay. So literally, I'm not the only one. This is the biggest movement around the world right now. I was just watching Matt LaCroix yesterday. I didn't come here live because I was watching Matt LaCroix's video, that his latest video, because he has discovered like the oldest civilization known to the human existence, and they're excavating it. He also wrote a book about the other things that he has discovered, and now he's talking about it. And there's 3 podcasts that he has out, and he's working on a documentary and a part 2 to the book, and probably a part 2 to the documentary. And he has 3 different podcasts that came out, one with Danny Jones, one with Will John, and then the one in the middle, I can't remember the guy's name because I haven't looked at it for a minute. But you can look up Matt LaCroix. Matt LaCroix, you can go to my Facebook page, Leonard O'Neill, find my Facebook page, and you can get a link to his Facebook page. Or you can go Matthew LaCroix on YouTube. I don't have the YouTube thing. We tried to link it the other day. Whoops, I'm going to try and go and look it up for you. And you can watch the videos. He has the podcast that he was on those videos. And it's French spelling like LaCroix, right? So hold on, I'm going to look him up online or on YouTube here. Oh, I'm still on that other channel here. So let me go to YouTube and I'll look it up for you. Okay. So his name is Matt LaCroix, or Matthew, M-A-T-T, or Matthew, the word Matthew LaCroix. And hold on, I'll look it up and I'll type it in. I'm going to get his last name spelling for you, and I'll put it on here for you. Okay. Here we go. Okay. So his name is Matthew LaCroix, and I'll put it on. You can show it to you here on the screen. Hold on, let me click on his site. I can show you this. There he is right there. You guys can, that's his YouTube channel right there, okay? M-A-T-T-H-E-W, last name LaCroix, capital L, small a, capital C, R-O-I-X. And there's a picture of him. He looks like Indiana Jones with a hat on, okay? You guys want to go and look him up and watch his videos. If you go back to the oldest one first and come forward, the ones he's got right there on his channel on YouTube, it'll take you to the interviews that he's producing of him talking about the stuff. First one with Danny Jones. The other guy's name is Matt as well, but I don't remember what his last name was. He's got white hair and really pale skin. And that was the second one where he's sitting in the chair with the pink or purple microphone or something like that. Watch all of those. They're like 2.5 hours long each, but you're going to hear him tell you about the actual translation of the word Anunnaki, just like I did at the beginning and read that to you, that it doesn't mean what they're trying to tell you on the History Channel, because they're lying to you for money and ratings. Okay, on History Channel's Ancient Aliens and all of the alien guys that are touring around the world with them, right? We even have one that just is landing here in Sydney. I can't think of his name, but he's on there and he's flying over here and he's making a living by talking about forbidden knowledge, and it's all about the Anunnaki being aliens who came down here. So he's making a living on something that he knows is not true, and he's lying about it. Okay, they do that all over the place to keep you sleeping. They would rather have you believe in sky gods, because then what they're doing is they're saying they're related to the sky gods. Okay, so that's how they're trying to say that they control, that they own this planet. Because if you believe in aliens, they're like, well, we're your creator gods. We're related to them. Okay. And then if you don't, they tell you that. Like the Queen of England, before she passed, she said that the Windsors were related to Thor. They claim that Thor was invented in the 1100s because that was the first time that somebody wrote it down. So Thor is a god. They claim they're related to him. Now that, and I hear this, I haven't vetted it for sure, but people are saying it, and all over the place. Now that there's just about 100% empirical proof, because I'm one of the people that have been talking about it, and many other people like me have been doing the research, that Mary Magdalene was married to Jesus, and they had children. Dan Brown's book, The Da Vinci Code, had a lot of people looking at that because of it. Okay, since that book became a movie and people have been looking at it all over the world, they started to realize, hey, wait a minute, it's actually pretty much certain they had to have been married, because Jesus had to be married to somebody, because he couldn't be called the rabbi if he wasn't. And he was in a religion that he was unalived at 33 years of age, and he couldn't have that happen to him without being married, because in that religion you have to be married by the age of 30. Okay. Then what in the sky caused the video all over this app? What in the sky called? It's called artificial intelligence, is what caused things that are in the sky that people are looking at. Okay, people are looking at airplanes. I created, just so you know, I'm not some guy that's just saying this. Okay, first of all, my religious background is I have 4 religious titles, 5 spiritual titles. Okay, I'm a theologian and I've studied religion my whole life. On top of that, I created Ancient Aliens Worldwide, the largest, right now second largest Ancient Aliens platform on Facebook, second largest platform for investigating UFOs on the planet. Okay, it's been around since 2012 when I created it. Every single person that's on History Channel's Ancient Aliens are friends of mine and in that group. Okay, so I'm not coming from a place of I'm just making this stuff up or I just think. Okay, I have been authenticating photographs, videos, and the like, not just for that page, but for governments for more than 35 years. That's what I did for a very long time. People still give me things and go, what do you think of this? I literally just had somebody give me something the other day and said, here's a video. Tell me what this is. Okay. And it was a person who was filming the sun, not knowing what, and claiming they didn't know what the sun was, thinking it was a spacecraft, and it was just the sun. And there was lens flare on their camera. And because of that, there was like 5 dots as they were moving their camera. There was dots on there that was lens flare from the lens on the camera in their phone. So it was a reflection of the light reflecting off the lens on the back side of the lens onto the front side of the lens and being recorded. And he's going, look, it's aliens and they're moving as I'm here moving. They weren't, it was lens flare. Then he goes, wait, here comes an alien spaceship. And he turns and it's an airplane that even has the running lights and the flashing light that an airplane has. And people go, no, that's a UFO. They're just putting those on so that you won't know they're UFOs. And they do that. People just film aircraft all the time, or they film drones doing a drone show, and they go, look, that's got to be a UFO because look, there was a light, and then the other light moved into it, and then it disappeared. You mean they turned off the light on that drone as it flew by the other drone? And then looks like they merged, and then all of a sudden the light appeared over here because the drone went over there to that spot when you couldn't see it because it's dark out, and the drone is dark and you can't see it, and then the light comes back on. They do it all the time. Okay, they've been doing it ever since drones. Okay. Wasn't Mary Magdalene stoned? No, see, that's also a misnomer. There was a scene in some of the Bibles that Jesus had gone up and drawn a line and said, "Let him who is without sin cast the first stone." That was not Mary. That was some hooker that was happening to in the year 1100. Okay, there was a pope who decided that that hooker was Mary because they were still trying to get the sacred feminine moved away, and they had elevated Jesus to God, called him God now. So he couldn't be married, he couldn't have children, he couldn't be a human because he had to be God on earth. And God's holy, and he wouldn't do that because when Peter stole the church after Jesus left, Peter wasn't supposed to keep the church. It was supposed to be Mary, and Peter was supposed to help guard Mary from any of the bad guys. He took the church over. Prior to that, he was famous for saying, "I hate her and her entire kind, but it's better to marry than to burn." Okay, so he didn't want to get married, but he got married because he had to, because at the time he would have been stoned to death had he said he was homosexual. Okay, he hated Mary, did not want to be married. So when he took over the church, the first thing he did was said all clergy never gets to be married because they're married to the church, and all women who he hated can't do anything. Okay, so Mary wasn't stoned. She was never stoned unless she was doing some drugs. She was never stoned, and it wasn't her in that scene. Okay, that was just somebody who they put it together. And if you go back and find actual stuff, it never said that it was Mary. It was the church who claimed that. Just like the church tells you that Jesus said, "Wait here, I'm coming back." He never said those words. And how they try to prove it to you is in I think it was Matthew or John when they were asking Jesus because he was talking about the illumination. He was talking about the new heaven and the new earth. And when would that occur? And that's when Jesus said, "I tell you truly that our Father said he will come as a thief in the night." They weren't talking about the return. They were talking about your illumination and your awakening. That's what they were talking about, but they had to change that so that you would know that. So how they got to the part where they said Jesus was God was they said, well, Jesus was the Word of God. They just made that up. And the reason they did was because in the beginning of the Bible in the Old Testament, it said there was nothing in the heavens, and then there was God, and there was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God, and the God created the world with the Word. So then they just said Jesus is the Word of God, therefore He is God, because over here it said the Word was God, was with God, meaning it was somebody else, but it also says the Word was God. So instead of saying it was just God's voice, they said it was someone else. And then they said, Jesus is the Word of God. Therefore, he is God. That's how they made up the Trinity. There is nothing that said Jesus is the Word of God till they said it. Because they just went, well, since Jesus is speaking God's Word, then wouldn't you say that makes him the Word of God? I agree with that. Then they're like, yes, yes. Then because he's speaking the Word of God, he must be the Word, and therefore he's the Word of God. And here in the beginning of Genesis, it says the Word was with God, and the Word was God. So Jesus is the Word, was with God, and was the Word of God, and was God. The Trinity. In nomine Patri, Filii, Spiritus Sancti. And there you go. The name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit. Trinity. Put together. They moved the female out of the Trinity that's supposed to be there with the duality of masculine, feminine traits, and then the Christ. He was the story of the Christ oil that's within your body, and he had to have a mother and a father. So what they did was they said, well, his mother was down on earth and it was an immaculate conception because that was something that was really big in the Hebrews pantheon. He also had to be tied to David, so his mother was actually a descendant of David. Okay, he had to be tied to David, so he had to have that mother. And then it was an immaculate conception because it was actually from God, because it was God coming down to earth. So that's what that was story was set on. And she was also an immaculate conception. They had to have that so that it was prophecy, because for him to be the savior, he had to check off a lot of boxes, hundreds of boxes. Okay, so all of those boxes had to be checked off for him to be the savior. The Hebrews still claim that he wasn't. Okay, but then they claim we're not responsible for unaliving Jesus. Don't get mad at us. Well, then you're the one that are saying that he wasn't real, so you're kind of attacking him. It was like 14 guys in the Sanhedrin that were Pharisees who decided that Jesus was in their way of them having power and they needed to solidify their power. So for political reasons, they needed to get rid of him. Okay, and he counted on that and their greed so that he could get the job done. That's the truth of it. You can look that up. Even if you look up the Chosen, even in the Chosen, you see that it was political. They know that it was political. It wasn't something that they were forced to do. It was like 14 guys. It started with like 3 of them, and it was politics. They needed him to be out of the way and use him the way they used him to solidify their control in the Sanhedrin. So he was the perfect scapegoat so that they could keep their control. That's why they did it. Jesus knew they would do that, so he kept poking the bear until they did it, because he needed that to be done that way. All of that's still an allegory, okay? It's still a parable. People are taking all of these stories serious. Thank you very much. You just gave me that, Peter. Woohoo, brother. Thank you for that. I'm going to take a drink of my coffee algorithm. TikTok, this is coffee. No alcohol. I do not drink alcohol. I stopped doing that 4 years ago yesterday, as a matter of fact. Okay, you guys are on the 3rd, the 2nd. 4 years ago on the 2nd of March, I quit drinking alcohol altogether. None, zero, not even a beer, not even wine. Okay, gave it up 100% 4 years ago. Haven't had a touch. I don't even eat anything that has alcohol in it. Okay, no word of a lie. Okay, let's continue. Smash those hearts, champions. Let's get some more people in here. You guys ask me your spiritual questions. I am a theologian. I have 4 minister titles. I even have one of the identification from the Universal Life Church in Phoenix, Arizona, that I carry in my wallet all the time, so that way I can pull it out and show it to people. If I have my satchel, I have my little clip that says clergy, so I can put it on my shirt somewhere if I have to minister to people, and I have rosary beads for those who are Catholic. Because I was knighted by the Roman Catholic Church, as a knight, I also have to carry rosary beads with me. I don't have any in my pocket right now because I'm at home, because they're around the corner in the other room. But I have those. Okay. Right? It's like, Leonard, you're Mick Dundee now down under. I am, right? I'm in the land down under. I'm in Australia and I love it here. I love this country and I love the people here. They're in an uproar down here too. They're having problems with everything that everyone else is having problems with. People coming from other countries and trying to take over their country, and they're having problems with it. At least I'm not one of them, because being European, I'm not trying to change anything in their way of life. I kind of like their way of life. That's why I'm here. And I don't want to bring any politics, because that's not my religion. Okay, my religion is spirituality. I'm not here to try and make something political or religious, for that matter. I'm here, even though I have those titles, I'm trying to teach you guys the truth of spirituality, right? Tell us how you came to be knighted. I was actually chosen because in the Roman Catholic Church, if you're a Roman Catholic man, they have the Knights of Columbus. Okay, the Knights of Columbus are an order of the Roman Catholic Church today. They were the only order, unless the Catholics have brought back a couple of the orders. They were the only order of the church. Pope John Paul II made them the only holy order of the church. So as a Roman Catholic, going to a Roman Catholic church, the Knights of Columbus saw that I was a holy man, and also a no nonsense holy man, soldier and the like. They said we need to have him in the Knights. So they asked me if I wanted to become knighted, but it was going to take a while because you have to learn. It's a way of life. They don't just go, okay, and you're knighted, right? Like in the movies they did that, but that was an emergency. So I had to go to school, and I had to go to all of these classes and make sure that I knew what I knew. Well, I was already doing that anyway. I'm already a theologian. So even when I was in the classes, the nuns were like, this guy knows more than we do, right? And so I was their scholars. Whenever they had scholarly questions about the Bible, they would point to me and I would answer it, because that's what I do anyways, and I've been doing it my whole life. So I was able to, because of that, you have to go through the course of a first degree, second degree, third degree. You have to go through all of those. It's just like going to a Reiki class that I teach, by the way. We teach Reiki 1, 2, and 3, and that takes over a year. I had to be a year and a day minimum of going through the schooling before I could go to the courses. So I had to go a year and a day in the Catholic RCIA program, right, and go through that, and then become baptized Catholic, which I was already Roman Catholic, just never baptized. Then while I was doing that, I was learning to be a knight, and that took another year. So by 2004, then you have to be chosen again. You can't just volunteer and become a fourth degree knight and get actually knighted. You have to be vetted by somebody because they want to make sure you're not self-serving. So I had to be chosen and invited to be knighted. And then, of course, there's another school that you have to go to make sure that you understand what it means, because you're living a way of life. You're not just getting a title because you're prestige. You're not getting a title like, Sir Elton John, where the Queen just knighted him because he was a cool singer. Okay, this is a different kind of knighthood. This is an actual paladin, an actual monk that is a warrior monk that has to actually know his duties as a knight and a way of life, not just I was cool so the queen or the king knighted me. Okay, so then after you do that, you have to go through that again, and so it was 2004. It was the day that Pope John Paul II became unalived, the man who actually made the Knights of Columbus the only holy order of the Knights of the realm of the Roman Catholic Church, of the Holy Roman See. So the day that he passed was the day that I was knighted. So now I'm one of the 42 knights in the world that were knighted on the day of his feast. There was only 42 of us that were knighted on that day, and I'm one of the lucky ones who got my sir title. Took a knee, the whole thing with the sword and the clergy and the ceremony, and I'm in a tuxedo and the whole nines. And I took a knee with 7 other guys in that moment, and they were 7 at a time, kneeling, and you have to kneel on the pillow and the whole nines, and put your head down and the whole thing, and they knight you and they tap you with the sword and the whole thing, and then all of that, and you have to rise a knight, the whole thing. So I went through that ceremony. So now I have a sir title, Sir Knight Leonard Edward. My Christian name is Leonard Edward Gabriel Leo O'Neill. That is my sir title and my Christian name. So I am Sir Knight Leonard Edward Gabriel Leo O'Neill, because I wanted Gabriel, and the nun said that I needed Saint Leo. So they added Saint Leo because she knew back in 2004 that I was going to be speaking in front of the world, and I needed Saint Leo, who was the patron saint of the spoken word of God's message on earth. Weird, right? That's how I became knighted. So I chose it as a way of life, and then I ended up leaving the church about a year and a half later because of politics once more, and a rift within the 2 million at the time. We probably have 4 million now. The 2 million knights, some of them, half of them wanted to protect the church in Rome, and the other half of us wanted to protect the people first and the church second. So some of us walked away from the church. I stopped going to that church, and I've been dedicating myself even before then, but definitely now, to explaining to the world the truth about religion and how religion recruits you, but spirituality waits for you to find it, which we're going to be making the t-shirts, and probably some cups and hats and stuff with that quote on there, because that comes from my book, The Reality About Reality, Returning to the Old Ways. Okay, it's a quote out of my book that I pinned that and quoted that. No one else in the world said it. Don't know why. So I said it, and I have a t-shirt. I'm not wearing it today, but I have a t-shirt that says it on there, that I wear whenever I go out in public to a fair or something where I'm teaching there, or doing Reiki, or selling some of the Merlin and Maeve products, like you can see here on the screen, right? All the products, all the things that we teach you, all the classes that we teach you, right? Defense Against the Dark Arts, you can see up there, Reiki 1, 2, and 3, and Master, right? Life Or, and I messed up that. I got to fix that. I have a V in there. That was supposed to be a space. How about I fix that while we're sitting here? Take that V out so it doesn't say Orv. Let me fix that. I didn't see that until I started reading it. Hold on here. Where is that? Right there. Let's take that out, right? And see if there's anything else there and reapply that. Okay, so Life Or Spiritual Life Coaching, all ESP abilities, and you can see them listed here, right? We teach all of those, right? So psychic development classes, all the clairs, there's 8 types: exorcism, dowsing, chakras, auras, and medium, and meridians, shamanism. We teach dream walking and astral projecting. I won't teach anything else unless I vet you and make sure that you're not self-serving, because the other ones you can use to your advantage. Mediumship, channeling, because I am channeling right now as I'm talking to you. Tarot cards, oracle card readings. We do readings, medium readings, and tarot cards, oracle card readings one-on-one. We also teach Reiki. We also do Reiki healing, distance healing, or in person. We did that at the fair when we were there 2 weeks ago. That occupied most of our time. We had to trade off of who was managing all the jewelry that we make and sell, while the other one was doing Reiki on people. Okay. So yeah, Saint Leo. Yeah, the Saint Leo was the patron saint of the spoken word. So yeah, she said you're going to be speaking to the world about religion and spirituality. You need this, and I was like, well, I don't know that I'm going to be doing that, because at the time I wasn't doing it yet, and here I am doing it. So she made sure that I had all the tools that I need, right, to do that. Weirdly, that woman knew a lot more about what was going on in the universe than she was telling me. Apparently, she was just a nun, right? In that religion, anyways. She was very smart, a very smart woman. So she was the one who said to the priest, who was Father Neil, by the way, Father Neil Clemens. So another Neil and Leo running like crazy in my name and my history and my everything, right? On the 13-month calendar, I am a Leo. On the 12-month calendar, I'm a Virgo. My name is Leonard, which means Lionheart, Leo, Lionheart. My initials are Leo, Leo, right? Right now, the full moon is in the constellation of Leo, as Leo's coming up. Oh, and I wanted to talk about that too. According to some people, there's a prophecy that this month, so it would have to be probably this moon. I don't know if it's happened, but Brooke and I were investigating this. This is the kind of nerds that we are. This morning before she left for work, we were investigating this because there's a prophecy that the Sphinx, which used to be a lion's head, by the way, it used to be a lion. And then somewhere in the past, about 1,000 years ago, they recarved it into the face of a pharaoh, but it was actually the head of a lion. Okay, and its face is east, and it does that for a very specific reason that's very, very old. So in the prophecy, Leo, which is facing east, will be looking east, and in the month of March in 2026, right now, Leo is supposed to come up in the sky above at the sunrise, and which is what's happening right now, by the way, every day. So I think it was yesterday that it happened, but I don't know. And I know that there are people that were supposed to be going there. So the Leo is supposed to be coming up, and one of the stars, and I forgot which one it is, that's in Leo. That when you see Leo, it appears blue, and it's supposed to move up into the sky and actually shine red in the morning sky, and the Sphinx is supposed to be looking right at it, and that's supposed to happen this month, from what I've heard. But some people say April as well. But yesterday was the blood moon and the eclipse, right, which Brooke and I went outside and got some pictures of, because we literally outside our door were facing in that direction where the moon was coming up, and we were taking pictures and watching it until a little bit after 10 p.m. last night, watching the blood moon as it went fully eclipsed and was just the blood moon, and took pictures of it. It was pretty badass. So we were trying to figure out if it's this Leo cycle, because right now it's coming up in the morning sky. Okay, it comes up in the morning sky with the moon, right? So if it does, and then it comes up in the daytime, and we're in Australia, so Egypt is on the same cycle as we are. They'd be able to see that as it comes up in the sky. So, and I know that Matt LaCroix is on his way to Egypt, but I don't know if he's on his way there now for this event. But other people have said that they were going there for this supposed event, but I don't know for sure when it is, and I'm still researching it. But I wanted to let you guys know that we're researching it to try and figure out when that date is supposed to be, because they were saying it was in 2026. So if it's going to be, and Leo's rising in the morning now. Okay, so as time goes on, Leo is not going to rise until later and later. No, it should go the other way. So it'll be getting up earlier and earlier. So if it's at night, at dusk, that's coming up. That would be somewhere in July or August. Okay, so I'm looking into that to find the exact dates, to find out if it was supposed to be morning. If so, it was probably that moon. it was probably yesterday that it happened or today that it happened, or if it's supposed to be in the evening while the sun is going down, and because right now the moon's coming up at night. So it'll take a long cycle before the moon's coming up during the day. So if it doesn't have to have the moon up when it's doing that, then it'll become, because the moon will already be going this way to go down as Leo comes up later on. It'll be at the night and the moon will be going down. But for it to be facing east, it has to be now, unless it just rotates. So I'm pretty sure that if it was supposed to be in 2026, it just happened. So I'm going to find out if it did. Penny, welcome, welcome, welcome. Thanks for coming in. So we're looking into that specifically because that's also supposed to usher in the time, because they were saying that back in, this is why we were saying there's going to be changes, guys. Back in the day, the evil people who run this place have been promoting when they changed the religions, they're promoting this prophecy that the end of the world was going to come, and that there was telling everybody there was going to be this rapture, and that Jesus was going to return to save everyone. And that part was made up. They didn't care, but they wanted everybody to focus on manifesting the end times, so that they could, have this great reset and get rid of everybody. And they just lied to people and said Jesus said he was coming back, so there's this rapture and Jesus is going to come back for you. That's why you hear people like me talking about that and telling you that there's no place in the Bible that he said that. And the only place in the Bible where they use a line is in the New Testament, when they were asking him, when Matthew and I think it was Matthew and John were asking him, when is it going to be the new heaven and the earth? When is going to be the illumination? When is this time going to come? And he said, I tell you truly that our Father said that he will come as a thief in the night. And so everybody says, well, because he is the voice and he is God and he said those things, that meant he was coming back. And that's how they tell you that Jesus is coming back for you. Jesus never said he was coming back. He was telling you that there was a way, which he was teaching you, to get to heaven. So that was part of the fake prophecy, to get everybody to manifest the end times, and all coupled with all the other prophecies that they already knew about, like Nostradamus in the 1500s, of saying these things don't have to be, but they can be, looking into the future. And now people are kind of blending that. There's a guy who claims that it was on I'll have to see the show exactly which one it was, and I think it might have been what's his name? I can think of his name right now, and I can see his face, but I can't think of his name. He's really popular, not Joe Rogan, but another one that does a podcast where they sit in chairs across from one another. I can't think of his name right now. Anyway, he Ryan, what's his first name? I can't think of his name right now. Sean Ryan. I'm pretty sure he was on the Sean Ryan show, and he claimed that he had contact with aliens, and they were telling him about this prophecy, and they were saying this doesn't have to be, and that's a blending of the Hopi prophecy, right, and this other prophecy. So I don't know if he made that up or if he had someone else telling him the same thing. I know about the Hopi prophecy, the Hopi rock legend, about two realities that the world's coming to, and people have to choose which one they're going to go into. One is the utopian society where everybody's prosperous, and then the other one is the end times where AI ends up in charge and everybody's pretty much a cyborg, and there's only about less than 1 million people on the earth still left alive. Right. So some people are going to choose that, I guess. Probably most of the evil ones are going to choose that, and they're going to go there because that way they can stay in control of their little teeny island. Right. So that's the reason why those of us who were in think tanks in the spiritual community were saying, stop talking about prophecy, because we know, and I was telling them the same thing then that I'm telling you now. Your focus determines your reality. You are the one who create your reality with what you focus on. Bad people know that, and that's the information that they were given. So they know that if they can keep the collective focus of the world on what they want, we manifest it for them. That is what they're doing. Okay, that is what's happening to you here. They're keeping your focus on what they want, and you're making and manufacturing it. Okay, because you're going, of course there's countries, of course we need money, of course we have to pay for everything, so I have to get a job and I have to funnel all my money up to everybody else. And who cares if they all have all the money? Who cares if they all own everything? Who cares if all of this? Because, and then you have these narratives that you bought into. We can't do anything about it because they're just in charge. It doesn't matter who I vote for. They're going to put their people in charge anyway. They'll love you if you say those things. Or none of this matters because Jesus is going to come back and get us because we're in the end times anyway. That's another one of theirs. So all of those lead to the same place, and that's what they do with everything. So you either are in service to self, in which case you're living in the flesh, and that's where they want you anyway, and you're going to be on their side, and you're going to manifest everything. I got mine, you get yours, and I better get it as soon as I can so I can leave legacy money for my kids, right? Or forget about them. I'll leave it to whoever, and I don't care as long as I'm rich. Either way, self-serving is the way they want you, or they want you in fear that, oh no, we're in the end times and you're focusing on that. We're going to come to an end and there's going to be the left behind, and I'm going to be one of the left behind, and the bad people just rule here anyway. We can't do anything about it. They want you defeated, in fear, diminished, thinking you're by yourself and that you're one little teeny pebble that can't do anything whatsoever, and the big bad machine that they've manufactured will just run you over if you try. And if you think that, that's exactly what you're manifesting. Do you see? So they're using you, me, and everybody else because they understand that our collective consciousness determines it. If we or determines it, if we all say no, there is no famine, then there's no famine. Why? Because we make sure everybody has food, but we're not, are we? Because what we're doing is we're saying we trust you to get food to those people, so we're giving you money to give food to those people, and then those people steal most of the money, but you don't know it, and then they take some of the money and they take the food and they give it to those people. But what happens is the people over there who believe they own that place, they show up and take most of the food, if not all of it, and you never get to know about it because no one tells you about it because they want you to give more money. And then if you find out about it, then they go, you're right, we need more money so we can give them actual food this time and make sure that we get it to them. Then you give them all kinds of money again, and then they take the food over there, and then the government goes, you guys got to stop for a minute, we got to give them some food. And then the people over there go, screw you, and the next thing you know, guess what? War makes money. Then your government says we got to stop those people because they're taking everybody's food, so we have to take those guys out. Everyone over here goes, yeah, man, we got to get food to those kids and all those people. Get them. Then the government goes over there and tells them you need to either knock it off or we're going to take you out. And if we take you out, we're going to you lose everything. And they're like, screw you. And then they go in and they start fighting. And the government, sounds like Iran, doesn't it? The government takes out the head of the snake. Then they go in there and they put somebody else in power. You get food to the people for a while. Meanwhile, your government makes all kinds of money because why? They need money to build more weapons. They need more constructs so they get some more of your kids. Then they got to have clothes for them. They got to train them. They got to have weapons for them. They got to have bullets for the weapons. All of that gets taxed, and you give it to them. Their war machine gets going. They go over. 2 guys show up. 4 guys show up. One with a gun. He goes pow. They take that guy out, and then they go pow, hit the other guy too, and then maybe a 3rd guy, pow, 4th guy, 5th guy. It was only 10 guys that did the entire thing, but you paid them $100 million to do so. They take all that money and they put it in their pockets, and now they have a bigger war machine and they control more property. And then they go, let's get some food to these people. You guys keep giving some money so we can get food to those people, and they're pocketing half of that money too. You just don't know it until you start paying attention. That's the true story of what's going on. Evil people do evil crap, and they do it all the time, and they take your money, and you are trusting that they're going to do good things with it. And then when it turns out, look at Black Lives Matter in the United States. Okay, people were donating money because those people were helping them. I'm African American and I don't like it, and those people are helping me. So people are giving half their paycheck to those people, and guess what they were doing? Every single one of them at the top were buying mansions all over the world. Okay, with all of that money. And then when they got caught, they just fled the country because they already knew that was going to happen. And they put their little house in a place where they can't be extradited. Okay. And the second that all of that happened and everybody found out about Black Lives Matter, that's why it's gone now, because everybody at the top took off, fled the country, and they all have houses now, and they're living in countries where they can't be extradited to the United States. And guess what? Nobody did anything about it. They just went, okay, we don't need Black Lives Matter right now anyway. Well, now that Donald Trump's in office, why is Black Lives Matter not running around? Because there's nobody running it, and no one's giving them hundreds of millions and billions of dollars right now, because the people that were giving them all that money ended up losing all that money because the other people that were running it were evil, and they took all the money for themselves and split. Hired all their friends and family, did everything the rich and elites do at the table above them, got away with it, and everybody laughed and went, wow, they got away with it, didn't they? And then everybody was like, nothing, just went away, and no one even remembered that they got ripped off for hundreds of millions of dollars, maybe even billions of dollars. And everybody went, whatever, man. And that's it. And then they just went right into printing signs for other people, from other organizations to do the same thing. Okay. And they're getting all of that money because you keep giving it to them. Focusing your determination, your focus is determining your own reality. So every time you see a terrorist organization and they do something and they unalive people, and then you have conspiracy theories. It was those guys or those guys, and usually the ones you're pointing at are actually the good guys, and the bad guys are the ones telling you about it, and they're the ones propping the whole thing up. Okay, you need to realize what's going on here. They are using you against yourself as a tool. They're keeping your attention on everything but what they're doing. Keep swiping, keep swiping, keep swiping. Hit those hearts, right? That's what they're doing to you. And every time you hit a heart on something, that is an algorithm that gives you more of what you want. Your focus determines your reality. And then when you're not having fun playing on TikTok or another platform just like this, the rest of your day is focused on their machine, because that's what they do. That's the truth of it. How do we stop them? Change your focus. Fix yourself. Realize you're not a little teeny insignificant pebble sitting on a beach full of insignificant pebbles, or you're not a little teeny drop of water in an ocean of little teeny drops of water that don't have any control or any kind of power. Remember that about yourself. Know that all our collective consciousness creates this place. That is the secret to the universe. Secret to the universe is the Christ oil within you that every single religion was teaching you until they edited it out. And they did do that at a specific time. In fact, Matt LaCroix, if you go and watch his latest video that he just did like last week with Will John, if you go and listen to that one, he tells you exactly when it happened. And it's exactly when you thought it happened. It's exactly when Alexandria was burned by a Caesar in Rome. Okay. It's exactly at that time period when that happened. It happened prior to that, but it happened exactly then. And that was when they took control 100% of the narrative on this earth. And from that point forward, all the way to the Renaissance, they were trying to destroy the knowledge of the Christ within that was spiritual in every single religion on this earth going back 77,000 years. And Matt LaCroix is proving that. Okay, I had wrote a book about it. Okay, I wrote a book about it, starting and telling you that without telling you the dates yet, because I'm writing a second book showing you that. Well, Matt LaCroix is now doing that, and he's explaining to you what it is that they took away from you, which is what I talk about, and which is in my book what I talk about. He's showing you where it was in those religions, right? Do you know what's going on with Jim Carrey? Yeah, that I actually posted a thing on that. I actually showed you guys that person that everybody thinks is Jim Carrey is an impersonator. It's a drag queen impersonator who does that stuff for a living. And let me see if I can pull it up on Google. I'll show it to you. I showed it. I forgot what his name was. I just showed it to you guys 2 days ago when I was looking at it, because everybody was saying, "Oh, he was a clone," and all of this. That guy is an actor, and he does that, and he actually impersonates people. And he actually was impersonating Jim Carrey. So let me look it up here. Let me see if I can find it again, and I'll show it to you on the screen here. Okay, so let me see. Oh, I hit image. Let me hit the AI thing, and it'll tell you about it. Okay. It actually says this. If you look it up, it actually says this online. The Jim Carrey clone conspiracy theory emerged in late February following the actor's rare public appearance on the 51st first Caesar Awards in Paris. Okay, so let me see if it shows the guy's name. It said his name last time I did this, of who the guy was. Let's see if it says it here. Hold on. Yeah, they claimed that he was a clone or something, or somebody, oh, he stopped taking his. It doesn't show the guy's name now. Last time I looked this up, it showed the guy's name. Told who the guy was that did it. Hold on, let me see if I can hone the search here again and get it for you. Let's see. No, they're not saying his name again. I just looked this up the other day and it showed his name. Hold on. Well, it was a guy. It's a guy that's what he does, and it's not showing that now. So, oh, here it is. His name is is Alexis Stone is the actual guy. Alexis Stone is the one that dressed up as him. Okay, key figure in the controversy, Alexis, Alexis Stone, a British drag artist and makeup transformation specialist who claimed on Instagram to have impersonated Carrie at the awards using a mask. Okay, so that person that everyone thinks is they have pictures of that they say is a clone, it's actually a makeup artist who put on a mask and pretended that he was Jim Carrey and actually did that as a joke. And everybody said, "Look, Jim Carrey was cloned." And the first thing that Brooke and I did was looked at it and looked at the eyes and went, "That's not even the same person in there. That's got to be makeup. It's not the same person. It's not a clone. It's not Jim Carrey when he's no longer on the louche or whatever, that it was actually a makeup artist who put on a mask." And that's actually what it says here. Let me show it to you on the screen here. Okay, right here. If you look, if you read right there, key figure in the controversy, you guys can read it on your screen. Alexis Jones, a British drag artist and makeup transformation specialist, claimed on Instagram to have been impersonating Jim Carrey at the awards using the prosthetic mask. Okay. So it's nothing, there's nothing wrong with Jim Carrey. That again, I mean, we first thought it was AI, then I looked at it and said, no, there's actually a soul in those eyes. That's somebody that's wearing prosthetics or something. And then we watched the video where he was speaking, and it was obvious that it wasn't even his voice. And we were like, they did a pretty good job, though, but that's not him, and it's a mask. Okay. So that's what happened to Jim Carrey. He's still alive. He's fine. He was there. He was actually there at the thing and did speak on stage, but then that guy did his thing and they let it go. You know why? Because it created a viral effect on the internet. The whole thing was a publicity stunt. Okay, and it worked because everybody's talking about it. Jim Carrey is now super popular again, and everybody's assuming that he's a clone and stuff like that, and all of Hollywood and everybody got all kinds. Everybody watches they're all going and they got probably the highest ratings watching that show now that they've had in 50 years because of that, right? You didn't want the paparazzi hounding them to the higher, yeah, right. So yeah, right. I mean, you hire somebody to be your body double, and the paparazzi goes running out and chasing that guy, and Jim Carrey walks out the back door and gets in a limousine. I mean, I don't know that he was behind it. Somebody obviously was because they made sure that guy ended up on camera. All right, I'm gonna take a drink of my water TikTok. Well, I'm not going to show you on the screen because the color of it gets the algorithm thinking I'm drinking alcohol, and it'll put a freaking thing on the thing. So on the a sign on here. So I'm going to go over and take a drink over here. All right. I don't drink alcohol. I stopped drinking alcohol altogether 4 years ago. Yesterday. Yesterday was my 4-year anniversary without any alcohol at all. No wine, no beer, no nothing. Okay, so all those in Hollywood are weird. Well, Jim Carrey's not crazy. Jim Carrey's awake. Okay. You need to go and listen to what he says. Jim Carrey is awake. In fact, most of the videos that there's at least 3, I think, where they talk about the Christ oil on YouTube, and they intro it with Jim Carrey about 10 years ago when he was talking about sexual right alchemy, and he didn't understand everything about it. At that time, he kind of got an idea about it. I talk about it in my book. I describe it to you in my book 100%. I can tell you about it right now. I even have the calendar right here so you can track it. Okay. And so he was awake, and then he went to the phase of being a hermit and stepped away from the world and just did painting and was doing his best life because he believed that he didn't need to do anything and there was nothing to do. And that's what happens when you wake up. One of the phases you go through after the anger phase, and the phase of trying to wake everybody up and yelling at everybody and everybody in the world thinking you're crazy. Then you go into the hermit phase where you go, it doesn't matter what I do, everyone is going to wake up when they're supposed to because it's true. And then you go into that part of your life where you just go, forget about it. I'm just going to live my life and just let everybody do their thing. And that's what he was doing. And he's just now coming out of that phase. At least I think he is. I've been told that he's starting to go back and be more awake and, starting helping people like I'm doing. Okay. So What every religion knew, and I'm not the only one saying this, there's people all over the world, millions of people, and the most famous one right now is Matt LaCroix, and I gave you guys his name. He's on YouTube. You can go watch his videos where he's going around the world and proving what I say because he knew what I was saying as well. I don't know if he's ever heard me speak, but I watch him and I go, I said that, I said that. I'm not saying that I invented any of that knowledge, but I say these things, okay? Every single religion on this earth and every story in every religion, the story of Moses, story of Jesus, story of Marduk from the Mesopotamians, the story of Thor, the story of Shiva, the story of Osiris, the story of, let's see, who else can I think of? Did I say Moses? Moses, I don't know if I said Moses. Just those alone, but every single religion. All of those stories are about the exact same thing. Okay? They're all about the exact same thing. John 3:16, for the Lord so loved the earth that he sent his only begotten Son down to human form. That while he was here, he did miracles, had to become unalive to sacrifice himself for the people, became unalive, was unalived for 2.5 days, 3 days, 60 hours actually, then resurrected and then went back to heaven and became the light of the world. Thor was up in Valhalla, their word, the Viking word for heaven, with the All Father, the all creator of the universe, Odin, his father, who so loved the world that he needed to send his only begotten son down to earth. He sent Thor down to earth to prove himself worthy because he was going to be the god of the universe one day. So he came down to the Middle Earth, this place, lived amongst people, and while he was here, he did miracles. Then he had to sacrifice himself for the people, became unalived, then resurrected, and then went back across Bifrost, the Rainbow Bridge, to go back to heaven. Bifrost, the Rainbow Bridge, is in fact the 7 chakras. When Thor did that, he was 33 years of age. When Jesus did that, he was 33 years of age. Okay, when Moses went across the desert and became unalived because he was immaculate conception, was one of the people that was taken out of the water. There's several religions that talk about that are older than the Moses story, that was sent by God down to earth to free his people. He was on the Nile and plucked from the Nile. And the reason for that is the same story as Jesus. The Pharaoh at the time heard of a prophecy that there was going to be a Hebrew that was going to be born that was going to free the slaves. So he ordered all of the Hebrews to be counted, and that way they can get an idea of who was the firstborn Hebrew from all the families, so that he could find out who the prophecy was and unalive him. So Moses' mom put him in a little basket and floated him down the water. That's not the first time or only time that took place in any religion. That was the modus operandi of most of the religions of that region for the Savior character. Moses was plucked from the water, raised up. Thought he didn't know that he was a Hebrew. Thank you very much for those roses again, Phyllis. He didn't know about it, but when he found out about it, guess what he did? He descended down to slavery, went and worked with them. His adopted brother, who hated him and was vying for who was going to be the next Pharaoh, exposed him to his father. His father then recognized that he was the one that they were talking about in prophecy and said, send him out into the desert to be unalived by the desert, because he did in fact love Moses, so he didn't want to unalive him, but send him to the desert. So they sent him out into the desert, and he wandered in the desert for 40 days and 40 nights. And then he couldn't go on any further, and he prayed to the God that he wasn't going to be able to make it, and he fell down and was unalived and then resurrected by God. They kind of skip over that in the movies, kind of skip over that part. Then he was resurrected. Then he sees God on the mountain. God says, go and set my people free. And he says, I won't know what to say, my Lord. What shall I say? And he said, I will be your words. I will give you your words. So now he's the word of God. God is speaking through Moses. He goes back across the desert, back across Bifrost, the Rainbow Bridge, goes back across the desert at 33 years of age, by the way, but he looks older because he saw God on the mountaintop and has gray hair, but he's still 33 years of age physically. Does all these miracles while he's there, and then has the 7 plagues of Israel, which if you look at the 7 plagues, originally there was only 7, the Hebrews added 3 more. Why? Because they were changing the religion to get away from the Christ oil. 7 plagues. Look at the first 7 plagues of Israel. Open up your book or your computer and put the chakras there and put the first plague in next to the first chakra and say, what is it that God said for the Hebrews to do and that the Egyptians didn't do? And what does that mean? Well, look at that. If you balance that chakra, you get to go to heaven. If you don't do it, then there's a plague that's going to be on you by God. 7 plagues, 7 chakras, how to balance those. The Hebrews do it all. Hebrews do it all, and they get let go and taken to the promised land, crossing the water again, the Bifrost, the Rainbow Bridge, parting the Red Sea to get over to heaven, going through the Claustrum, the tunnel. Okay, same story being told slightly different. Jesus was the same story. Thor was the same story. All of them had to fight the serpent god of Israel, the serpent in the garden, Thor's dragon of the North Sea, Marduk, the oldest one on the face of the earth, did the same thing, came from God's status, came down to earth, was living as a human. Because he did that, he was able to then, because he had God powers, to be able to sacrifice himself, defeat Tiamat, the dragon, and then he was raised up to God status. Okay, became the light of the world. All of those stories, Osiris did the same thing, Shiva did the same thing. Every religion has the person who descends down into human form, sacrifices him or herself for the people, and then rises up, becomes unalive or becomes alive again, and then goes across the spinal column, 33 years, 33 runs in Jacob's ladder, 33 vertebrae in your spine, and then goes up through the claustrum. That's where we get Santa Claus from, because the claustrum, which is a chimney in your head, that literally goes through your spinal column up to your hippocampus. Okay, and that's where the oil sits in your head. I talk about that in my book. Okay, there's a link in the bio for this. The reality about reality, returning to the old ways. Every religion on the earth talked about the Christ oil until it was edited. Still there. They're all still there in the story, but they were edited away from teaching you that on purpose. And it was done on purpose starting 12,000 years ago, and specifically 4,000 and 5,000 years ago, very hardly done, to make sure that no one was teaching you any of this. And anytime a religion pops up, starts teaching it to you, say like Christ, when Jesus came and was teaching you the way, soon as he was gone, okay, he went in the year 27, which in the timeline that we're getting into will probably be in the year 33 at his 33 years of age. 225 in the year 325, Constantine took that part out. Still in the Bible, but they took out the teaching of that, and now they're teaching you the book of Romans, and that's teaching you to be a good little student, a good little Roman, and do not ever not listen to authority, and come to church every week so that we can tell you how to become a friend of God and how to have a relationship with God. Meanwhile, give us some more money. Swipe your cards on the back of those pews, people, or give us some cash, and you'll learn that it's about having a relationship, because you're a sinner, and they adopted all of the Hebrew control mechanisms of you're no good, you're nothing, you're useless, God's above you, maritime law, you're weak, you're puny, you're nothing, and you're a sinner, and you have to beg for forgiveness from God, and wait here. God's going to come back and get you on Judgment Day, but you have to wait here and do what we tell you to do while you're here. And then maybe at the end of it all, you'll be raised up. And then when you become unalived in your life, you're going to lay in the ground, sitting there like a test signal for thousands of years until the Creator comes back like a thief in the night. No one's going to know when that's going to be, and they're going to raise you up. Okay. And weirdly, if you think about that, what does that mean? That if you listen to what they say, there's going to be a time when there's going to be a super huge population on the earth, in a time when they were teaching you, when there was less than 1 billion souls on the planet at the time, way far in the future, 2,000 years later, 2 billion people. Today, 8 billion people, almost 9 billion people now on the earth. Right? So I'm just saying that in that time when everyone's going to be resurrected, it seems that everyone's resurrected today. Because how many people do you think became unalived in 1,000 years? Do you think it was another 6 billion souls? Probably not, right? How many years had to go by for 6 billion souls to be laying in graves around the earth to be resurrected? Because we're all up now. because there was less than 2 billion people then. In fact, in 1984, there was only 2.3 or 2.4 billion people on the earth. Today, there is 8 billion. So is that the time they were talking about, right? Are your lives recorded? Yes, they are recorded, and I repost them all over the internet. I put them on YouTube. So if you go to YouTube, my channel, which is, I'll type it in the chat. It's Leonard O'Neill 1067. Okay. Oop, wait a minute. Go to I don't think there's a space in there, but you'll see. There might not be a space in between O'Neill. It might just be Leonard O'Neill 1067. That's my channel on YouTube, where the MP4 broadcasts like this one will be. Every day when I'm done here, I take that and I upload it. Then I convert it to an MP3 broadcast, and I post it on my podcast, which is called Orion Rising. It is not that one. That's our logo here. That's not that one. It's up here somewhere. Let me find the image here. There. If you look at this, I'll put it up on your screen. That's the logo from my. Oops, I'm moving my camera and not the picture here. This is the logo for my podcast. It's also a book that I wrote about ancient aliens. Orion Rising, which is actually what's happening on this earth. Okay, so that's why I literally put that there, so you can see that. Anywhere that you listen to an MP3 broadcast, you can listen to there. There's 572. I'm putting the wrong images up on the screen here. 572 episodes that are still available, because I had another 550 episodes that got deplatformed when Google deleted all of my stuff, and Facebook. So that happened 4 years ago. So I have everything from then, where you can hear me compare religions. I do the Law of One. I did it twice. 6 books of the Law of One. I did the Hermetica. I did the Emerald Tablets of Thoth. I compare all religion, and I talk like this and tell you this and answer people's questions all the time. So if you want to hear the live that I'm on now replayed, you can later on today, either later on today or by tomorrow, depending on what time I get off of here and whether I have things to do or if I have a class to teach or not. I will repost it on YouTube and then convert the file to MP3 and put it all over the world. It's listened to in 70 countries. Okay. So you can listen to it over and over. There's, like I said, there's 572 or 71 episodes currently, and also I did the non-incident at Roswell, New Mexico in 1947, when they said that nothing happened there and there was nothing to see there, and there was no nurse that talked to the survivor of a spaceship that didn't happen. And back in 2017 or so, I don't know when I got it out on the air. I got that information from the woman, Mrs. McElroy, who was actually that nurse who worked for the deep state at that military base for the CIA, military intelligence, and because she had empathic abilities to communicate with this alien who called herself Errol, who was a gray, and that was not actually in the gray. It was a drone. I did 25 episodes interpreting everything that she's kept and gave to a reporter, wrote it all down and said, here, this needs to get out to the world. I'm going to be unalived by cancer soon. They can't touch me anymore. This needs to get out to the world. And I got a copy of it, the video, and I played it and I interpreted it for you. So you can take a look at that as well. That's on there. It's at least 24 episodes. Weird things keep happening as timeline shifts. The episodes went from 28 episodes to 25 episodes and then down to 24 episodes. As the timelines have shifted in the past 5 years to fix that weirdly, just like some other things have changed, like when Above Majestic came out originally, it came out in 2018. And now I think it came out originally it came out in 2017 in October, and now it's 2018 in October. The dates when I redid the second time the Law of One changed to like 2 years later or a year and a half later. So it looks like I finished it, because I did just finish it, but I started it the first time and finished it in like 2017 or 2018. They say I didn't finish it until 2020. And then I started the new one right after that, which is weird. And I did it for another 2.5 years. And I finished that last year in May or June, or I think I finished it when I got here. I may have finished that in August of last year. doing the 106 sessions of that, and then went on to the Hermeticum and the Emerald Tablets of Thoth. Then I started going live on TikTok to give you guys information and talk to you guys and give you guys just all this stuff. So I know that was a long story, but yes, you can get my stuff online everywhere, anywhere you listen to MP3 broadcast or on YouTube right now on that name, Leonard O'Neill 1067. Okay, so or 1067, however you want to look at it. So ask me your questions. That's what I'm here to do. Okay. I have 4 minister titles. I have 5 spiritual titles, right? Because I'm a Reiki master and Reiki master teacher. So is my wife. And that's a spiritual practice of healing, spiritual way. In fact, all of the things that you see on the screen right here that we teach, if you learn Reiki 1, then Reiki 2, and then Reiki 3, becoming the master, it will actually wake up all of these skills within you by doing so. But it'll take you over a year to do that. But it's actually the cheapest way if you guys are interested in that, right? If you guys want to know what, all of these things and what we do and what the price points are, email us right here at merlinandmaeve@gmail.com and say, I need, I would like to learn, whatever ability or whatever. A couple of you guys sent in a email that just said healing. Not quite sure what that means. I don't know if that means that you want to learn how to become a Reiki healer or if that means that you want Reiki healing. So we're going to be sending you guys out some emails asking exactly what that meant. Because we saw those this morning, we saw those this morning, and we were like, okay, let's email them back and go, was that meaning that you wanted to take the Reiki 1 course or that you want to book us to give you some Reiki healing from a distance? I think there was 1 and 1 in that. I think one of them, I told her, I think one wants to be a Reiki healer and the other one wants some Reiki healing. And so I said, let's send you guys messages and we'll get it figured out. So, Stormy, follow us here at Merlin and Maeve. This is my wife and I's company page. I was going live on my page, which you can see there on the screen that I had typed on the screen a few minutes ago. You can follow me there. Oh no, I typed it in on Merlin and Maeve, didn't I? You can follow me over here on my platform. That's my platform, Leonard O'Neill. You can follow my wife, Brooke, who's not in here, but she made a comment earlier. You can follow us on there. I go live here now, so I just put a video over everywhere else that I'm not going live on my platform anymore. I'm going live on Merlin and Maeve because that's our company that we're trying to build, because we're going to be using this to go around the world to teach you guys all of this information. So we're trying to teach you guys the defense against the dark arts, which should be being taught in schools to everyone around the world, but they're not teaching you that. Okay, so we teach this. This is a 2-day Zoom course, 4 hours a day on Zoom that we teach you, because if you learn that, there is nothing that can happen in this world that you cannot defend yourself against, unless somebody, of course, comes into your house with a shotgun or something crazy like that, right? Thank you for that. Yeah, follow me on YouTube as well. That's where we archive all of the MP4 videos. Go over there. I used to go live over there, so there's a lot of videos that you can watch there, my friend, on MP4 from my podcast before I was going live on TikTok. Hit the live button over there when you go to my page. Hit live and you'll see everything that I did live there. I used to go live MP4 on YouTube and Facebook and Instagram. But I started coming over here to TikTok, and it seems there's more people over on TikTok, so I don't go live there. I'm also on Rumble. If you guys are interested, I forgot that I had a Rumble account. I'm starting to post all of my stuff that I do here on Rumble. So if you don't like YouTube, you can go to Rumble and look up Orion Rising on Rumble, because that's the name of my podcast. You'll find that I just started posting everything up there again. I haven't gone back and posted the old stuff, but I do have everything posted there. So you guys can go there and listen to 3 hours or more at a time. That's what I do. I talk. Okay. So ask me your spiritual questions, guys. Smash those hearts so we can get some more hearts, and share this out so we can get some more people in here. And ask me what you guys want to know about. Otherwise, I'll start talking. I didn't get to finish about the Christ oil. Let's talk about the Christ oil. So you heard me talking about all the religions on this earth used to teach this to everyone around the world, and then it was taken away from you. It's still in every single book, and it's that hero character, that savior character that descends down to earth to show you a way that you can look within yourself to get yourself off of this rock and get yourself up to the next level, or wherever you think that you want to go. Besides, if you want to move up to a level, to the 4th dimension, 5th dimension, and start moving your way back towards the creator, there is a way of doing that, and it's actual information. I have it in my book, which is called The Reality About Reality. Okay, Returning to the Old Ways, The Reality About Reality, Returning to the Old Ways by me, Leonard O'Neill. There's a link in the bio. Okay, so in that book, I'm not the one who made this up. I'm not the only one that did this. Matt LaCroix, that I gave you guys the link for earlier, you can find him on YouTube as well. Matthew LaCroix. He's actually literally going around the world and excavating sites and going around and investigating sites that have already been excavated. And he's actually discovered that the things that I'm telling you that were actually all around the world in every single ancient site all across the planet, from now going back to now uncovering back to 77,000 years ago, okay, through the Atlanteans who lost their lives in 38,000 years ago during the Younger Dryas event. We're the descendants of the people who survived that, coming back, and all of our religion is based on all of their spirituality. All of our spirituality is based on theirs. Okay, from that time, and the stories that we have are all versions of the stories that were already here, and they were in these places. And he's actually proving that whole thing that you see with those figures that they tell you are the Anunnaki, with the two figures with the wings facing each other, with the tree of life in the center, with our DNA thing in there, doesn't mean that they flew here in a spaceship, came down here and made the humans. That was a lie that was made up by Zecharia Sitchin, propagated by the people from Ancient Aliens from the Disney Channel that owns History Channel. And they're doing that, and they've been making money for the last 20 years doing that and telling you about that. And it's actually just not true at all. Okay, they started really big in like 2012 when Giorgio Tsoukalos, the guy with the hair that always says aliens, 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 he needed to get the ratings up, and so they filmed a thing where he said Zecharia Sitchin in 1948 translated the scrolls, which was a lie. He did not. He didn't know what he was doing, and the actual people that translated the scrolls have sense, and you can look that up. I showed you earlier. I don't know if I still have it up on my thing here. I'll show it to you. You can look it up on Wikipedia. And no, I already closed it. You can look it up on Wikipedia, and you can find that out. The word Anunnaki doesn't exist the way you think that it does, and it never meant a god from heaven in a spaceship. Okay, did not mean that ever. Okay, not doesn't mean that in any religion that is on this planet or any spiritual thing on this planet doesn't mean that. I tell you that truly because I am actually not from here. I'm from a very high plane of existence, and I came here to tell you these things. This body was born here, and I was born in this body legally, but the soul that's in here came from a very high plane of existence, and I'm here to tell you that your race was not created by aliens and spaceships. The creator of the universe created the human being and the human condition, and it's been told to you throughout all of time, dating back to the beginning of humans being on this earth, which was a lot further back than you think. Okay, and it's in there, and everybody takes these stories and they think that they're true. Like the reason you think the earth is flat is because some guy in the 1700s went and said he found an ice wall. Before that, they thought the world was flat for thousands of years because their stories said that there was a God that created everything, and there was a giant that was created to help the God, and that giant was a God, and that giant went and got lazy and got in the way or went crazy in some way, so that giant had to be unalived. And this is in all of those ancient religions. The religion of the Romans and the Greeks with Osiris did that. The religion with Thor from the Vikings did that. The Japanese religion, their creation story of Japan, was a big giant that had to be unalived, who was not actually unalived but sleeping, and the entire earth is inside the head of the giant. Okay, the dome of the sky is the head, the skull of the giant. Okay, we're living on the top part of the teeth of the giant. The mountains are the teeth, and the bones are the land, and the blood of the giant is all the water in all of the rivers. Okay, so those stories from tens of thousands of years ago were being taught to children so that when they got a little bit older and asked about it, then their parents could tell them that's because you're actually in the mind of the creator. You're existing inside the mind of the sleeping God. Okay, so when they were trying to control things, they just took away that part of it and left the dome of the sky, and everyone said that the earth was flat. Except for they all believed up until the 1700s that you could fall off the edge of it. Then in the 1700s, some guy who was trying to prove the earth was flat was looking for the edge of it. he claimed that he sailed up and to find the edge and found an ice wall. And that was all based on and backed up by people today, which he never had anybody back him up or corroborate it. And he said, you guys can't find it though, because there's this firmament out there that makes you not be able to see it. But I could see it because I'm immune to it and nobody else was, weirdly, and nobody corroborated it. And then people look at these maps, these square maps that are designed that have landmass going all the way around the outside, and they go, there it is, right there. That's what he was talking about. That's proof that the world was flat. And what you don't know, what I do know, is that that's a topography map that's supposed to be put over the top of a globe. Okay. When you put it over the top of the globe and then you fold it into the bottom so it fits on the globe, that mass that goes around the outside fits down there in this little teeny thing at the bottom of the entire page. But they had to draw it that way so they could put it over the top of a globe and tack it down or glue it over a globe to give to people. Okay, and you can look that up. That was the standard practice. So there was no wall that went around it. So everybody was like, the earth is square, and there's this round wall that goes around it that's full of ice, because these old maps show that. Those are people that have no education whatsoever. Okay, none. All of those were topical maps that are supposed to go over the top of a globe and fold around the bottom of the globe. And then guess what? That entire big landmass that's all the way around the outside gets folded in and then is small. Okay. And you can look that up and they'll tell you that. Right. So everybody who's uneducated says, here's the proof from this map that that was there. And that map that they tell you that has Antarctica, they've actually put into a computer and the computer analyzed it. And it was actually both sides of the tip of South Africa going up, or South America, Argentina, going up like this, stopping at about Brazil and going halfway up Chile. And somebody took those and took it from the bottom and flipped it this way and set it down and drew that topography as Antarctica. And that was what they thought was Antarctica forever, until the computer just recently recognized that actual outline and went, this is actually South America. So they had the wrong outline because no one had ever saw the Antarctica until the 1930s. Okay. Then people actually started trying to chart it. So all the maps prior to that were faked. And somebody just took what they saw as South America and then just literally put that this way and drew that on the map. And that was the map that everybody kept drawing. There's a video on there, a documentary that you can look that up on there. Okay. So that was done because there was a legendary land that was supposedly there that everybody just supposed was there. And then people just started drawing it and one person did it. And he was the most acclaimed, so everybody copied what he drew as fact, and they just proved it, like in the last 4 or 5 months, by hooking it up to a computer and having the computer analyze it. And the computer said, this is, if you take all these lines and move them like this and put them together, it's South America. Okay, so the person took the South America and pulled it over like this and set it down and said, this is it. And nobody noticed. Nobody noticed for like 900 years. Okay. So, and then that was what was going around the earth on those other maps, guys. So you have to do your education. Same thing with Anunnaki. The word Anunnaki doesn't mean those from the heavens came. That was Giorgio Tsoukalos just invented that in 2015 after he said and quoted Zachariah Sitchin from 1947, who said that meant the god Anu came. Okay. And it doesn't mean that either. It means the prince came. You can look that up. It's actually on Wikipedia. So they count on you, me, and everyone else never actually doing anything about looking things up for ourselves. They do that with the gaslighting from the social media. They do that from the legacy news media. They will tell you what they want you to believe that their political opponent said, and they just give you a soundbite, and then they give you a narrative prior to soundbite and then afterwards, and then you get angry at that person and go, that guy's doing this, that guy's the devil. If you want to know what that guy really said, you should watch the actual speech, not what your news agency is telling you that person said, or that woman, because that's what they're doing to you, and they've been doing it to you your entire life, because your focus determines your reality, and they're keeping your focus on their reality to determine their reality and to keep their reality and keep them in money, keep them in power, keep them with legacy wealth, and keep them in control of you, and owning everything, because that's the truth of it. And there's an actual date when that started, when they solidified that around the world and tried to burn all books and scrolls that had anything to do with any of our history. And you can look that up. And it started at the Alexandria, when they burned the library at Alexandria. Started then and continued all the way into the time of the Renaissance. And the Renaissance is the only reason that we still have this information, because people got a hold of all of those scrolls and started copying them and got them back out to the world. Okay. You can look that up. Matt LaCroix talks about it in his last video that he just did last week or 2 weeks ago. Okay. And he wrote a book about it, and he's going around the world and he's finding it from these cultures and showing it to you in those videos. All the things that I say to you, because being a theologian, I've researched this. I just haven't gone there and taken pictures, and he's showing you pictures of all this stuff. So you can look him up and listen to what he says. You're going to find he's telling you the same thing I'm telling you. Okay. I'm not the only one. There's millions of us that know these things, and we're trying to tell you about it. But they don't want you to know it, because if you expand your consciousness, and it's that easy, if you expand your consciousness, then guess what happens? You are no longer susceptible to their gaslighting and their Jedi mind trick. How do you do that? Within your body, here's the secret that every single spiritual way before it was controlled as a religion was teaching you. Okay. What do you think about the orphan trains? It depends on, you know, again, you don't know what's real, and you don't know what's propagated. You don't know what's manifested. You don't know what is propaganda. Okay. There's, I've seen images that there's people that are, slaves in China. I've seen pictures of it. Okay. So they're real. I've seen literal, images, video from drones. So the orphan trains, I'm sure that they do. If you look at the amount of people, Penny, you're in the United States. I grew up over there. If you look at the amount of people that came through that southern border just in the time that Joe Biden was the president of the United States, that's somewhere in the upwards around 20 million people. If you do the math, it's somewhere around 20 million or above came across that border in 4 years. Okay. They do not know where more than 600,000 children are. No one does. So just in that alone would suggest to you that they're bringing people into the country, into the United States, children that were unaccompanied or brought by someone who was not their parent, into the United States alone, on the order of 600,000 children in 4 years. Where are they? If they're doing that in the United States, they're doing that everywhere else. So if there's people that are orphans, or people that are being bred purposely to get children so that they can have them for a certain thing, I would say if you can think it, they're doing it. Okay? That's the truth of it. The truth of the way it works in the universe is, if you can think it, that means someone else is thinking it, and someone else is probably doing it. So if you can imagine that there's people doing hideous things to children, there is a very good likelihood that that is what is actually happening somewhere on the planet. If you look at the things that we know, like just Hollywood alone, and all the producers and directors of Hollywood, if you talk to anybody who's ever worked in Hollywood since Hollywood started. So for the 100 and some odd years that Hollywood has started, if you were a female, you didn't get a job unless you were taking someone's shaft. Okay. So you got a job because you let somebody have sex with you over and over and over again to get all the jobs that you got. And then we don't even know if it stopped now. We know that when the Me Too movement came out in the 2000s, that stuff kind of slowed down a little bit. That doesn't mean they didn't go right back to work doing it, because people aren't looking at it now. So they were probably still doing it. Okay. And then when you listen to people and they talk about this stuff, that like Kanye West and some of these other people, where they're telling you this is what's really going on, and here's the actual hierarchy. You hear these people saying that. Is it true? We don't know, because we're not in it. I think it is. There's a video that I just repinned on, I think it was on Orion Rising. You guys might want to go and take a look at that on Facebook, that I knew that I still had. That's old. That's like, I think that video is 5 years old, but it's older than that. And that has to do with that thing that has to do with pizza, and, a thing that's a fence that's not a fence that you open, right? And that was one of the videos that still exists, that didn't get deleted. And all the people, even the one that made that video, there's a link in there that if you click on it, it says that account has been deleted. That video is still there unless they took it down in the last day. I actually bumped it up to the top of the page. Okay. So that video is on my reels. If you go over onto, I don't know if it's on my Facebook page, But if you go to my Facebook page or go to Orion Rising, the page, not the group, Orion Rising, the page, it's on the reels. I was just yesterday talking to Brooke and said we need to bump this back up. So we bumped that up, and that talks about all of that stuff going on by those people. Okay, so truth everywhere for centuries. Agreed. That's my point. I believe in that. Okay, so I believe that those things like Penny was talking about is probably real. I believe that that's been going on, and it's still going on. It hasn't changed. So how do we fix that? Our focus determines our reality. Okay, so if we want that stuff to stop, we don't have to. And this is where everybody has been. Some people have accused me a few times, oh, you're trying to start a revolution. No, I'm not. But yes, I am. I'm not trying to start a conventional revolution of people becoming unalive, because that's what will happen. That's not what I'm doing. I'm trying to teach you how you can raise your vibration, wake yourself up so that you are no longer gaslit in any way or Jedi mind tricked by the things that they're saying to you, because you will actually be an adult for the first time in your life. And then you can actually, because of raising your vibration, you can help raise the vibration of everyone else on the planet. That's where we get that hashtag be the change from the people who said be the change you want to see in the world. Okay, so that's where we get that from. So if you want to change the world, you have to change yourself and wake yourself up. Once you do that, that changes your dynamic and everyone's around you, and you raise up the whole. Okay, you raise up the entire population. Once we get the entire population to the seminal point, that means at 51% of the population, the rest will cascade. We are almost there now. It's starting to cascade. So how do we do that? You look within yourself, because within you, depending on your zodiac sign, whatever zodiac sign you are, because of the day you were born, the time that you were born, you have a zodiac sign, and that zodiac sign, like I'm a Virgo. Being a Virgo, Virgos just went through the Christ oil. Today, I think we're finished. Today is the 4th over here. So no, tomorrow, which will be Thursday, will be the end of my any Virgo's Christ oil. Okay, because I have a calendar right here and I'm looking at it. All right. So what is that? They were all teaching you that Jesus's life is the Christ oil. Okay, Marduk's life, Osiris's life, Thor's life. They're teaching you the Christ oil. Okay, let me show you this. All right, we talked about this before. If you've already heard it, you're going to go. You're going to raise your frequencies and raise everyone else's. That's right, Starseed. Okay, so this is what every religion was teaching. Okay, I'm a theologian. I have studied religion my entire life. I think I started when I was 8. No word of a lie. Started when I was like 8, when my father said you should read every single religion. Hold on, I'm going to take another drink of my not alcohol TikTok. This is not alcohol. It is water. It's energy water. Okay. So I'm not drinking alcohol. Okay, so every single religion was teaching you about the way. Okay, the Tao Te Chi. The Tao Te Chi means the way, the book of the way. Okay, teaching you the way to get out of here. All these religions were teaching you the way. Jesus is the way. You've heard this, right? Jesus said the way to heaven is through me. Okay, why is that? Not, he didn't mean like, you have to go through his body. He meant through what his way, what he was teaching you. What was he teaching you? He wasn't teaching you, wait here, I'm going to go get a bus. Okay, that's what they tell you he was teaching you. He wasn't. He was teaching you to look within yourself. Okay, because depending on your zodiac sign, okay, the moon moving through the sky moves in and out of every zodiac sign once a month. Every single month, the moon will move in and out of your zodiac sign. Okay. And when it does, it is in and out of your zodiac sign for 60 hours, 2.5 days. There's that 3-day time period. Okay. So everybody was teaching you the way. The way is know when you were born, know your zodiac sign, by that zodiac sign in your body. Okay. Just prior to that 3 days in your body, about 7 days earlier than that, there is 2 oils that are secreted, one from your pituitary gland and the other one from your pineal gland. They are actually secreted from your brain. One is a milk-like substance, the other is a honey-like substance. One is charged with electricity and one is charged with magnetism. Those 2 oils go down your Inga and Pingala nerve in your spinal column. They go through the claustrum, where we get Santa Claus from, the chimney, in your brain stem, and they go down your spinal column. They go down the 33 runs of Jacob's ladder, your Jacob's ladder. the 33 years of Jesus and Marduk and Thor and Moses and everyone else, Osiris, everyone else. The oils go down your spinal column to the base of your spinal column to the 5 vertebrae that are fused at the bottom of your spine that in the ancient times was called Bethlehem. And those oils in the ancient time were called Joseph and Mary, masculine and feminine, Kundalini and Kunda buffer energies. Kunda buffer, the one that they've taken off from that religion, so you only know of the Kundalini, the masculine energy. They tell you there's 2 energies, but they don't tell you it's Kundalini energy. They don't tell you it's feminine. Okay? They don't tell you it's the opposite archetype to the Kundalini. Snakes, again, serpents, again. Okay? So it goes down your spinal column, it becomes 1, then it goes back up your spinal column, going across Bifrost, your rainbow bridge, going across your 33 vertebrae, going across your 7 chakras, Kundalini, Kunda buffer energy, fire going up your chimney, goes across your spine, up your spine, charges all of your chakras, goes back up the claustrum, okay, goes back up the Santa Claus. Santa Claus is a middle Norwegian word, Santa meaning grandfather, wise one, or uncle, and Claus, the word claus comes from the grommet hole that holds the sails down. And guess what? The chimney in the old houses of the Viking houses, claustrum, claus. So Saint Claus, it's not Saint Claus, it's Santa Claus, wise one who goes through the chimney. Okay, goes up, goes back up to your hippocampus, sits there dormant for 2.5 days, for 3 days. That's the time period when it's dormant, when it is crucified of John, by the way, not by, but of John. It is unalived and it is dormant. And that time, for that 3 days, the moon will move in and through your zodiac sign. If you do not eat of the tree of life, here's your 10% tithing. If you do not read of your which zodiac signs off off the Gregorian, okay, all of the ones on the Gregorian calendar, okay, you were part of one of those. If you can plot the other ones, figure out which one you are there, you're going to find out it's the exact same time of the year anyways. Like in the 13 moon calendar, I'm a Leo because my birthday is September 10th, so that shifts me to Leo. And then on the Gregorian calendar, that shifts me to a Virgo. Those are consecutive. So what I do is plot myself as a cusp between Leo and Virgo. Okay. So you can figure it out either way. It'll still be the same time period. It'll just be named something different because it'll rearrange, but it'll still be the same time period. So if you know that you're a Sagittarius, look where you fit in that. And you could look at the moon, the month, the old moon calendar for, away from the Greco-Roman one, back to the moon, 13 month, 28 day. And you'll still just might have a different name, but you might just shift like I do from Virgo to Leo. Okay. So you can plot that. I have what's called right here a moon calendar. Okay. Literally, let me show you the front cover of it. This is, you can pick any one of them that you want, but here's the front cover of it. Moon calendar. Okay. It actually says well-being astrology. I don't know if it's on the front there. On the back right here, it says that astrology calendar, well-being astrology. Okay. And you can pick whatever. My wife picked this because she liked it. It was kind of cool, right? So here we are at March now. And if you look at the calendar, at the top of the calendar, you see that it has all the zodiac signs and what their symbols are all the way across. And then if you look at the calendar itself, there's the first of the month, right? If you look at the calendar itself, you can see that it shows when, and here we go with the days. Let me see what I can see what you guys are seeing here. Like here, on the first or the second, it went into Virgo. Okay, and then here's the full moon. You guys are in over there because we're on the fourth now. You guys are on the third if you're in America or Europe. Okay, and then it goes into the next sun sign, which is Libra, and it shows you the time at 5:55, unless I'm seeing that wrong, a.m. Virgo. The moon goes out of Virgo and goes into Libra. Okay, so you can trace these. It has it on every single month. You can buy this calendar and put it on the wall. You can also Google it, and then I Google it and put it on my phone, the calendar on my phone, so I get a thing, right? I follow him until now fake. What are you saying? I follow him until now fake. Not quite sure what you're talking about there, Ed. I follow him until now fake. Okay, the stuff that I'm until now, if you're talking about me, The stuff that I'm actually talking about now is the stuff that is the secret to the universe, because all spiritual practices on the face of the earth knew about this and were teaching you, and it's actually still written in their books, still written in all of them, but they're not teaching you anymore to keep you here in third dimension. So I'm not sure what you're referring to, right? I'm late coming in. What are we supposed to do? What you do is you plot that. What is your zodiac sign? Okay. With your zodiac sign, you can plot when the moon moves in and out of your sign. Okay. The moon moves in and out of every single zodiac sign once a month for 3 days. That is the Christ. That is what Jesus was doing. That is what Marduk was doing. Every single Thor was doing. Moses. Those were all stories of the Savior coming down, doing miracles, becoming unalived, resurrecting, and then ascending to heaven to become the light of the world. Okay. That story and all of those, what you call religions, was designed to tell you about this oil that happens in your body. Okay. Every single month in your body, there are two oils that go down your spinal column, merge together as one oil, go back up your spinal column, go through your claustrum to your hippocampus, sits dormant in there for 3 days, 2.5 days, 60 hours. And if in that time you don't ejaculate, you don't have sex, you don't eat, get drunk, you meditate or pray, you eat proper foods and sleep properly and be good for goodness sake, the story of Santa Claus is about that as well, then Santa doesn't leave you a piece of coal. So if you're balancing your chakras and you're paying attention and you're doing that stuff, thank you, Penny. There's a link to the moon calendar online. You guys can look it up by copying and pasting that into your browser, and you can look it up and you can plot the same thing that is on this calendar that you can buy in the store. And I don't know where my wife bought this from. She might have got it from Amazon. I don't know. You can buy them online. You can look them up. You might even, if you have a Walmart near you, go and see if they have a moon calendar there. Okay. And it will tell you when the moon is going into and out of your zodiac sign. During that 3 day time period, no sex, no crap food, no alcohol, pray, meditate, balance your chakras in that time period. At the end of that 2.5 days, that oil then goes into your hippocampus, or I mean your optic thalamus, from your hippocampus to your optic thalamus, your third eye, and then it goes and it illuminates all of your brain cells and raises your vibration, raises you up slightly, unless you're in service to self. Then it's going to lower your vibration, because then you're going to eat of the tree of life or ejaculate or have some sort of reward hormone. And then it literally turns that oil into a coal-like substance. And this is no joke. You can look this up. There's videos on YouTube about it as well. Okay. You can look that stuff up. And literally, you can watch it. Doctors tell you the same thing that I'm telling you. It's in my book, The Reality About Reality, Returning to the Old Ways. Okay, there's a link in the bio to this book. That's mine. Okay, you can read it in there. You can get it on ebook as well, so you can get it on your instruments. You can look it up in another book called God, Man, the Bible Made Flesh, which came out in the 1940s. That's being taught. They teach that book in Bible colleges or in theological colleges. My little brother, who's also at a theological college right now, and he's becoming a theologian, he was telling me about it. I had the book, never read it. I was telling him about my book and the Christ oil, and he said, dude, that's in this book called God, Man, the Bible Made Flesh. I said, I have that book. I bought it, never read it. It's on my in the bedroom. It's in my bookcase. I went in and got it and said, man, had I known that, I would have put that reference in my book. I would have put that in there so that people saw that it wasn't just me saying it. Okay. Yes. Oh, here, hold on. I'll put it up on the screen. One of these images, that's not the one. Next one down. Otherwise, I'll have to pull it back up again. Yeah, I'm not able to get. Here we go. There it is. Let me pull that up for you bigger so you can see it. That is my book right there, The Reality About Reality, Returning to the Old Ways. Can you see that big enough on the screen? You can take a screenshot of it if you want. That's on sale worldwide, online, on sale. You can get it on ebook. There's no audio book yet. I have to read the book and record my voice so we can get it on audio file, because my wife and I don't want to use AI. Okay. So that's the name of my book, and it's online everywhere. Let me get that off the screen here as well, back off the screen. Okay. So literally you can look it up on YouTube and look up the Christ oil within, and there's videos where you can watch where they actually show you images of what's going on physiologically in your brain, and the doctors describing to you what's happening. Okay. Ancient religions on this earth throughout all of time knew about this. And as a theologian and a 4-time minister, okay, I have 4 religious titles. I tell you truly, it's in every single, as a theologian, it's in every single religion still. But no one is paying attention to it. The story of the Savior character in the religion is the story of the Christ oil. It's the 33 years of Jesus, is the 33 vertebrae in your spine. Thor going across Bifrost, the rainbow bridge, is going across the chakras, and the bridge that goes from the breadbasket, from Bethlehem, from the third dimension, Midgard, back to the heavens, to Asgard or the heavens. Okay. And that means the heaved up place. That's this place. If you look at the creation story of all the religions, in the creation stories, you're in the mind of a sleeping giant, the mind of a god. You're living in the mind of the creator. That's what they used to tell people. Okay. They stopped telling you that. The Christian religion was changed in 325 AD by Constantine, who was an emperor in Rome, the Caesar in Rome, when he was making the Christianity the Roman Empire's religion. He changed things and made it a warlike religion, and that's what it is still to this day. Just like the Muslim religion is, just like the Hebrew religion is, just like all the Greek gods and the Greek religion and the Roman gods and the Roman religions. Those were all people who conquered the entire world. Think about that. Okay, their religions are monotheistic, even though the Greek and Roman gods have women in there. The male god is the one that's in charge of everybody. And what he says goes. Okay, those are warlike religions. Okay, those are warlike religions. I think, I don't know if this is somebody coming here. I think it is. I'm supposed to have a maintenance guy come and take a look. So hold on one second. Hi, how you doing? Hang on. All right, hold on a second. I'm going to pause the live for a second so I can talk to this gentleman because he's going to come and take a look at the water, and I'll be right back. So don't leave. Stay here, and I'll be back live in a minute. All right, I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. Sorry about that. Thank you for those of you who stayed and tapping the hearts here. The guys coming to look at our hot water heater because it's not working now. I'm crooked here, aren't I? Sorry about that. Okay. So thank you for that, right? Ask your spiritual questions, please. I apologize to anybody who was popped in and went, what the heck's going on? This thing's paused. Why? I had to I got a guy here that's going to work on the water heater, hopefully get our water heater going because the hot water is not working properly. When we turn it on, it's just a little trickle. So he's taking a look at it. So yeah, all right. So where were we? The Christ oil. Okay, every religion knew about that, and that's what they were teaching you. And back in time, then evil people got a hold of that knowledge and realized that if they knew that our focus determines our reality. So if they could take that knowledge away from everybody, they could keep everybody stuck in a low vibration, and then they can have you manifest what they wanted. Okay, that's why we have this caste system, this maritime law system that is set up now. And if you look, and this is where I freak people out every time. Okay, back in the probably it was during the time of Barack Obama. Okay, this girl in the United States was doing her lineage. Okay, trying to figure out who she's related to. She said, "I wonder who our president Barack Obama is related to." So she started looking into Barack Obama to find out who was related to, and guess what she found out? She was found out that Barack Obama, the president of the United States back then, was related to every single president of the United States in their 200 and now 250-year history. Okay, all but one, and it's not Donald Trump who's the president now because he's actually related to them. Okay, so all the presidents of the United States are related. So the guys at the History Channel, when they were making the documentary Above Majestic, talking about the people on this planet who think they own it, the powers that should not be, they said, well, we know that all the monarchs in Europe are all related to each other, right? And I was on a live and I said that, and somebody goes, that's not true. And I said, Google it. And they were like, holy crap. Every single king and prince in all of Europe is all related to one another. Yes, they are. So they said, well, wait a minute. If they're all related to each other and all the presidents of the United States were related to each other, are those guys related to each other? So they looked into that and found out that they are. So every single president of the United States are cousins with every single king, queen, and monarch from every single country in Europe. Okay? They're all related to one another. And they have been going back as far as they can see. So then those guys, when they were making that documentary, looked at it and said, well, if those guys are all related, how far does it go? Okay. And they found out that every single person running every single government in every single country on this earth are all cousins. First, second, third, fourth, fifth cousins are all related. Okay. So how far does that go back? Well, let's see, when did those people gain control of the earth? And at that time, when was that? Well, we can go back in time and we can see definitely that 12,000 years ago is when they started taking control of all of the governments, because that's when they started taking control of all the religions. By the time of Julius Caesar, who burnt all of the Library of Alexandria, from that time forward to the Renaissance, they were destroying all documents and everything that had to do with the history of the world or the people in it, and specifically taking all control of all the religions of the earth to stop people from learning the information that's actually still in every single one of those books. But they're not teaching it anymore. What they teach you now, like in Christianity, and remember, I am a Christian minister and I was knighted by the Roman Catholic Church. I'm a theologian and I have 4 religious titles, so I'm not coming from the standpoint of a guy who's just making this stuff up. I've been studying this my entire life. Literally in the year 325 AD, okay? That was 300 years after Jesus' demise. The Constantine, the emperor of Rome, the Caesar in Rome, started changing the Bible. And what was he doing? He changed it to teach everybody to be a good little Roman citizen. And that's why if you go to a Christian religion today, any church in the world, they're going to teach you from the book of Romans. They're teaching you to sit down, be a good kid, keep coming back to church, and we'll teach you that Jesus is coming to get you, but we don't know when. So you got to wait here for him. Jesus never said that. Every other religion has been controlled and turned into a warlike religion to keep people in low vibration and warring with each other. Look at every religion that's on the earth and has been going back to before the Greeks, the Romans, everybody. All the religions were warlike religions going back probably to the younger Dryas. So we're talking about 38,000 years ago. From that point until now, every religion that has been on the earth, even though in that spiritual way and in that book and in their scrolls, there is a way how to get off of this planet the way that you're supposed to, even in Taoism, right? The Tao Te Ching, the book of the way. Okay, if you read that, you're going to find that there's a way. He tells you that. Buddhism, same thing. You're going to find that these people are telling you these things, but They've been controlled slightly, like Kundalini. There are two energies there, and they tell you Kundalini. Okay, but what they don't tell you is that that's the masculine energy. There's a feminine energy, and it's called Kunda Buffer. You can look that up. It's in the books. But they don't teach you that, and no one knows about it. Everybody talks about the Kundalini fire, Kundalini energy, one energy, masculine energy, not the fire, not the other half of it. Okay, there's a man out there in the world today by the name of Matthew LaCroix, Matt LaCroix, and I put his name up in the chat earlier from his Facebook or his YouTube page. Okay, Matthew LaCroix, M-A-T-T, right? Then H, so there's two T's, Matthew, Matthew LaCroix, Lacroix. Look him up on YouTube. He literally has a book that he just came out with. The man has discovered the most ancient site in the entire world, the most ancient civilization in the world, and they're excavating that. He wrote a book about it, and he discovered something about the spirituality of the people who were here before us. So now we're talking about where that Anunnaki came from. We're talking about those people in Mesopotamia and older than that, people from Atlantis. Okay. He then took that information that he found and started searching the world in every single religious place. Hi, buddy. Are you wanting in, baby boy? And the cat's at the door meowing at me. And he's literally going around the world looking at these sites and looking at all of their monoliths, looking at their hieroglyphs, looking at their different religious centers that we still have, to see if there's this evidence of this information that I'm teaching you. And he's proving to the world that it does exist and it is there. And it's the story of Gilgamesh. It's the story of Enlil and Enki, if you guys know anything about spirituality. It's the Enuma Elish, all of those ancient stories, the story of Noah, story of Adam and Eve as they go further back, right? The story of Adapa, right? These stories that are ancient, that all these other stories were based on. And the people who were teaching that and the things they left behind for us to see show that those symbols that you think are the Anunnaki, these aliens who came down here that created the human race, that are sitting there with the wings on their back and the helmet on and the pine cone in their hand and the little thing, or the pine cone in their hand with a little cup in their hand, the further back you go, they are not in fact aliens whatsoever. And the translation that you're hearing that says the word Anunnaki is aliens who came here in a spaceship is bullshit, invented in 1947 by Zecharia Sitchin, and then perpetrated even further by Giorgio Tsoukalos from Disney, the History Channel's Ancient Aliens, in 2012, when he said that it was the god Anu who came to Earth, which was made up by Zecharia Sitchin. And literally Matt LaCroix shows you, gives you the names of the actual people who translated those scrolls, that says that what he said was not right. And there's people making all kinds of money working for History Channel, working for Disney, making all kinds of money telling you that it's aliens who came down here who created you. And it's bullshit then, it's bullshit now, and it's a lie. The entire thing was a spiritual way that became religions that are being controlled by these people who are keeping you looking at the world in a certain way to keep them rich. Okay. And then the way out of this place is to look within yourself, and that's what's being taught and was taught in ancient times, and they're not teaching you that anymore because they want you to make sure that they get legacy money, okay? And that Christ oil is within you, and he's showing you the same thing that I'm teaching in my book, the same thing that everybody before me was teaching you, okay? That this is true story. You can look it up. Stop listening to bullshit from the people who are working for Disney, who were going around with ancient aliens, because Zecharia Sitchin said in 1948, translated wrong, the word Anunnaki. That word does not exist, and it doesn't mean those from the heavens came. It doesn't mean the god Anu came down here either. He said, Zecharia Sitchin, that the word Anu-Ki, forgot about the word Na, just threw that out like it was a silent letter, was the god Anu from Arcadia, next door, the Greeks. They had a god called Anu. It wasn't. It was a god called An or Enna, okay, or Anuna. There was no Anu, okay? But he claims that. And then the word ki, he said, means comes to earth, okay? So he's translated, wrote 6 books, got rich, lived the rest of his life saying these aliens came down here to mine gold, and they made the humans, because he borrowed the storyline from Adapa, which he didn't even know at the time, from the story of Adama, or the story of Adam and Eve, where the archons created the earth and the Ajiji and the Anuna, Okay. And that's where he gets this from, thinking that that's what it was. And these other stories that you guys might have heard of say, well, then there was the Ajiji and the Archons, and the Archons are evil, or in your mind, they're the people who created things. Depends on which book you read and which people translated it for you. Truth is, the word Archon means archangel, and the word Ajiji means angel. That was the first ones that were created by the creator, and then they created the heavens and the earth for the creator and created people to take care of the earth, which was the Ajiji. And here's your story of people getting lazy. Ego was created. People got lazy, didn't want to do anything because they knew they were the creator of the universe. And why should I do anything? We need to create somebody new to do the job. So the Archons created the Anuna, the new ones. And that's, if you believe that story, you and I are the Anuna. Everybody that's down here on earth are the Anuna. So the Anunnaki are us, but it didn't even mean that. Okay, so the truth is, it was the word Anunnaki meant offspring of the prince, not spaceship bearing, not off world, not gods, literally descendant of the prince, came to town and taught us how to do things. Never came for mining gold, never came for gold, never came for water, taught people how to plant crops and do these things. You can look up the actual translation. So that whole control mechanism that they're doing is also keeping you away from expanding your consciousness to the realization that if you look within yourself, because that's what they left behind, they're saying those were the Anunnaki coming to earth with the pine cone, giving your pineal gland the information. That's not what it was. It was the information from the underworld and the above world that was a balance between the underworld, internal and external, the human physicality and spirituality, light and life. Okay. And that balance in the middle was that tree of life. The balance in the middle, that's the three doors that you see all over the place, where the big door in the middle and the two doors on the side. You see that in Leonardo da Vinci's the Last Supper. You see that all over the world. Okay. Matt LaCroix talks about that and how that got to Da Vinci and how we ended up with that being handed down to us today. Okay. So you need to look into that, right? Who is the creator? The creator does not have a name. The creator doesn't know who the creator is. Let's be honest. If you actually look at the world, and I've talked about this on like every time I'm on here, okay? If you look at the universe and all these creation stories, all the old creation stories tell you that you're living in the mind of the creator, a sleeping God, right now. Okay. And then the creation stories after that are talking about how the creation was created. There was nothingness, and then there was light. And the creator said that, there was light, let there be light, kept light, and everything expanded out from that light and then life. Again, those two aspects. There was light, and then there was life. Okay. So then you have science today saying Big Bang Theory. There was nothingness, and then there was light, and then there was life expanding out from that. Weird, because they say there is no creator and no God, but they mirror the story of the let there be light. Okay. And then you can Google this one too. And then if you look at, so who is the creator? You are the creator. And let me get to that. Then if you look at a sperm cell, one sperm going into a female egg, and at the moment of inception, of insemination, when that sperm goes in, there is a burst of light that happens, and they've recorded it. You can go and see it. I've watched the video. Let there be light, and then all life begins. Okay. And wait, there is no proof of that empirically. Okay. You can go to my podcast and go back to the shows on Orion Rising, to the shows where I actually show you the MP4 version of it on YouTube, and watch the intro video when the music's playing. There's a video that plays for 1 minute and 27 seconds. If you look at that video, there's sacred geometry there showing you the same thing that the ancients showed you all over the world, when they're showing you, that Matt LaCroix will show you in his videos that he did online, that's also on YouTube. And there is a picture, a radial image of one single human brain cell. Matt LaCroix shows this as well on his latest video. Next to it is a radial image of the universe, and the brain cell and the universe are identical. Science knows this. Okay. So the truth is, right, you watched that video, didn't you? Phyllis said, I watched that video. Science is now starting to realize that we are in the mind of the creator, that all of those ancient stories were correct. There was nothing and nothingness, and then there was light, and then there was life, and everything came from that. Okay? And literally, I'm telling you truly, all of this is happening in the mind of the Creator. So the Creator is becoming. We are inside the mind of the Creator, and the Creator is dreaming or imagining us. So either way, it's a daydream or a sleeping dream. And we are experiencing life, and we are trying to become and figure out what it means to go from nothingness to what we are now. You, me, and everyone here, we are in the mind of the Creator becoming. And what we become down here, the Creator will become up there. We know this because when Matthew was talking to Jesus in Matthew, and I don't remember exactly what it was, where in Matthew 3 something, 3:18 or something. If you read Matthew, you see this. He literally is talking about that, and he says, and he's talking to Matthew, and he says, if you had but a mustard seed amount of faith, which a mustard seed is tiny, you can get like one Grey Poupon teaspoon and have like 100,000 mustard seeds. One mustard seed amount of faith, you could move the mountain from here to there. He also said, the Creator said to you, what you sow on earth, I shall too sow in heaven. What you reap on earth, I shall too reap in heaven. Meaning we have the creative ability. And what we become is what the Creator is going to become. Because there's your Trinity. Because we are in the mind of the Creator. Okay, and it's written in all the literature. It's just no one's teaching you that stuff anymore. Okay, so if you look at the creation story of every religion, you're going to find a version that's going to have something to do with a giant who is unalived, because I can't say that word that starts with a D on this platform because it's run by communists, literally, but is not unalived, is actually sleeping. And the creation is the dome of the sky is the skull of this sleeping giant. And we are inside the skull of this sleeping giant. Okay, those go back more than 12,000 years. And then the creation stories that don't have that story of being in the mind of the Creator tells you about the Big Bang Theory or insemination of a sperm cell going into an egg and creating life. Okay, and that is exactly the truth. You can look this stuff up. I'm not making it up. You can watch these videos. So I tell you truly that the true spiritual path back to the Creator is within you. Everything you need to know is within you. There is that Christ oil that is within your body that is secreted every single month. And when the moon goes into your zodiac sign, if you take care of that, it raises your vibration. Okay. If you don't, there's your Santa Claus giving you a present. And if you don't, you get coal. And they knew this 20, 30,000 years ago. They knew something about our brain that we're not even figuring out until today, that oil, if spent through sexual contact or whatever, you get that endorphin, that reward endorphin that goes into your brain that actually drains the energy from that oil, and the oil turns into a coal-like substance. And then that pops in our brain and lowers our vibration. So if you eat of the tree of life, the story of Adam and Eve, if you eat of the tree of life, you get lowered into physical form. And what is physical form but the beast, internalized as the underworld? Okay, and then they lied to you in the Bible about that. Let him who hath understanding reckon the number of the beast. And here's where they changed one word. Okay, one word, and then you don't understand what this verse means. Here's how it goes today. Let him who hath understanding reckon the number of the beast, for it is a human number. For it is a human number. They actually changed two words. And its number is 666. What does that mean to us? Well, it's the devil. And so therefore 666 is the devil. Okay, so what is 666 then? Why even say that? Why not just say that it's the devil? But they don't. Okay, because they changed words in that Bible, in that verse. Okay, so the verse is actually, let him who hath understanding reckon the number of the beast, for it is the number of man. Why is that? 666, the number of man. There's my wife. Hi, baby. Just so you know, the maintenance guy here is here, Brooke, and he's fixing our water heater. Hopefully, he's giving me a thumbs up a second ago when he just walked by. So hopefully he's getting that. So why 666? What does that mean? It is the number of man, because you, me, we are a carbon-based unit. If you know anything about science, we're a carbon-based unit. Humans, this reality is carbon-based. We are made up of 6 neutrons, 6 protons, and 6 electrons. 666 is the number of the beast. The beast is living in third dimensionality. Okay? Living in third dimensionality. We working? We're good? Oh. Okay. The inner tube's gone, and it blocked up the filter on the timbering. Ah, okay. So we're out of trouble for now, and then we're hopefully they'll put it in. Victory. Thank you, my friend. Have a great day. Okay, so Brooke, if you're, were you on your way home, Brooke, for lunch? If you're hearing me, my wife, he said that the tube on the inside was blocked up. We're going to need a new hot water heater, and he put in for it, and hopefully they'll have it in the next couple of days. But he got us out of trouble now, and he unclogged it, so we have hot water for now. Okay, so literally the number of the beast is living in the flesh. It's us living here in third dimension. Okay, 6 neutrons, 6 protons, 6 electrons. Okay, this place is the beast. So physicality is the beast, and we're supposed to overcome the beast. And if we overcome the beast, then we move from this reality, from this physicality to the spiritual realm. Again, it's the dark night of the soul, or the internalization. It's the underworld and the upper world balanced as one. Do you see? And that's those doors. Okay, so literally you balance the lower chakras and the upper chakras. Lower chakras are physicality, the bottom 3. Upper chakras are spirituality, the upper 3. Lower 3 physicality, upper 3 spiritual. One is life, the other is light. One is life, physicality, the other is light, body. So you go from your physical body, and you're supposed to have the unaliving of your physical body, but you're not going to do that literally. You stop living in physicality and start living in the spirituality. That's how you get out of here. You earn service to others. You stop living in the physical, looking for money, power, fame, and glory. And you're in love with everybody in the world and yourself, and you want to help everybody in the world because you're in service to others. And oh, by the way, I'm not this pain body. I am not the physical body. I am not the thinking mind. I am not the ego. I am not the conscience. I am. There's that I am they don't want you to say. I am an immortal being. I am an immortal soul, an immortal spirit. Not I have, I am. That is who I am. I am not this place. I am not this thing. I reside not in dimension. I reside in the density that is light, that is energy. That is where I reside. Okay? And that is what you're supposed to learn. When you learn that, you know that, you live that, your vibration goes up. You're no longer controlled by the ego and the conscience and the thinking mind. You're now controlled by you. By you. Okay? The one who creates and controls this place. And guess what? They can't control you anymore. When you raise your vibration, let me say that again. When you work on the Christ oil every single month, and you're not evil and you're not self-serving, and you're in love with the world, and you love the world because you're in service to others, and you take care of that Christ oil every single month, when you do that, that raises your vibration. And it continues to raise your vibration. And every time it does that, you get smarter, your IQ gets up, goes up, you get wiser, you get downloads from the universe, and guess what? They can no longer gaslight you, because you are now start thinking like an adult, because your IQ goes above 130. And it's something you learn, and you get knowledge from the universe that's universal knowledge, not knowledge that I own or created, not knowledge that somebody else owns or created. It's a knowledge that everyone unlocks. All the people who thought that Jim Carrey was crazy because he started talking like me, all the people who think I'm crazy because I start talking, this is not something I learned in a book. Okay? This is stuff that I talk about, and then people say, did you know it's in this book? And I say, really? I haven't read that book. Let me read that. And I read it and go, yeah, you're right. It is in there. Okay. I have learned that it is in every book. Not because I learned it from those books, because I knew it and looked in those books to show you guys where it is. And that's what Matt LaCroix is doing. And he's showing you videos, pictures of shit those people left behind in buildings all over the world. Okay. Showing you the same thing. The pneuma. Yes, Jason. Pneuma. Spark of God, the breath of God. Okay. The pneuma, you know, don't you? Right? Thank you for the roses. The pneuma. Okay. What is that? That is who I am. That is who you are. We are becoming. Tool wrote a song called Numa. You guys should listen to it and read the lyrics. Okay, because Maynard is telling you, wake up, child, wake up. We are the soul becoming, the Numa, right? If you guys don't know about that, look up the band Tool and look up the song Numa. My wife is home, I think, for lunch. So I'm going to probably hop off of here. I think that is her. She is home for lunch. So I'm going to hop off of here and have lunch with my wife because she's so beautiful. Hi, baby. And then I'll come back live after lunch in about an hour and a half to 2 hours from now. I'll come back live and we'll talk more. Okay. Tool rocks. Agreed. My favorite band in the world. Every song Tool ever wrote is about freaking the ascension, man. Even the crazy Stinkfist and prison sex is about waking up, right? You guys need to know that. All right, guys. I love you guys. I'll be back after lunch. I'm going to hang out with my wife, have some lunch, and then I'll be back on here. Okay. And I'll answer some more questions for you if you have some more questions. All right. So I'll be back in a bit. I love you guys. Have a good day. If I don't see you again, I'll see you whenever. I'll see you later or after. But otherwise, follow us here on Merlin and Maeve. Hit that bell, and when I go back live in about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours, depending on how long it takes me to finish lunch and get reset and ready to go again. Okay. But I will be back again today live. All right. I love you guys, and hopefully I'll see you in a couple hours. All right.